Hello and welcome to episode 98 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. My name's Davey and joined with me, as always, is the fine wine himself, Mr. Philip Hoy.
Me and my crew.
And we do not have Spencer today. Spencer is not feeling too good. He's a bit under the weather. And so instead, Lewis, the Xbox host with the most from X Marks the Box, has stepped in to fill those mighty shoes. So welcome to the show, Lewis, once again. How are you doing, my friend?
Howdy. I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
It's always nice to get a little shade of green in with a bit of blue. Now, does anyone know what colour that makes? It's been a long time since I've been in school, and Phil, they probably didn't have colour when you were in school. Do you remember what that is? Lewis, do you remember what blue and green is together?
Turquoise?
Does that make it? Is it? I don't know. I'm going to go with that. Sure. It's not purple, is it? What's purple?
Red and blue.
Red and blue. All right. Fair enough. All right. Well, this isn't the Colours podcast. This is In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast, and we have a monstrous show for you today. Some would say a juicer, baby. We got loads we're going to run through today. We got the normal run of the show in terms of a hypothetical question. We're then going to move it into what we've been playing, then scurry on along to quick news, and we got 2 pieces of news each to bring to the table. So it's got a lot of content for you. That's the way it's going to run. Looking forward to laying that all out for you. But first, guys, before we even get into the hypothetical, we've had a death in the PlayStation family. And I just want to just give it the send-off that it deserves here. Just a tiny one before we really go into it later. But I think for a game all about shooting, a game which has seen us go into the battlefield, come out of it, winning the majority of games. It's died before our eyes. It didn't deserve the death it got. We were there. We bought it, the 3 of us. We played it to death. It didn't deserve it. It did not deserve it. Boys, I want to see your salutes. We salute you, Concord. We salute you. At ease. We will be covering that as our main topic of the show today, the death of Concord. But I'm sure throughout this conversation, as our whole podcast unfolds, Concord's going to come up here and there because we still fucking love that game. And so we're going to, of course, talk about it, I'm sure, in what we've been playing. But first, before we get to that, we got a hypothetical. And today's hypothetical, lads, is I'm going to bring it in with a bit of a story here, right? So I was cleaning my room recently, my office space here, and while I was cleaning it, I like to use polish, right? I like to polish the wooden surfaces, I like to polish the bits and bobs, and while I was smelling that polish in...
Where's this going?
That already sounds like a euphemism, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
I'm going in my office, closing the door, and I'm going to polish a few things.
There's some poles that need polishing, right? That's all I'm going to say. But while I was polishing, breathing in those gorgeous fumes that come off the back of wood polish, it got me reminiscing about a time where I had something horrific happen to me. I couldn't understand what was going on. So I'm gonna take you on a bit of a journey before then I actually lay the question out here, right? And this journey I'm gonna lay out is my answer to the question that I will raise for you boys, okay? So I remember I was about 16, right? And what used to happen is my parents used to be at work and my gran would look after us. And my gran, even in those days, was like an older woman, right? She was like 70 or whatever, or like coming up like mid-70s while I was about 16. And I came in one day and I used to just walk in through the front door, give my gran a little peck on the cheek and be like, oh, what's for a snack, right? Straight away as soon as I walk in. And do that every single day I'd walk in. This time, I got halfway down the kitchen and just slipped over, like full on, like as if I slipped on a banana, bro. And slipped over, and I was like, what the hell? Because it wasn't wet or anything. I couldn't figure out what was going on. Got up, slipped immediately as I was getting up, and I was like, what is going on? It was like as if I had like some kind of like slippery shoes on. It was nuts. Took my shoes off, And I was thinking, this is crazy. Maybe I stepped in something. Got up on my hands and knees, like real slow, like a toddler would. Fell over frontwards. And I was like, this is mental. What is going on? Crawled out of the kitchen. And I just couldn't understand what was going on. So I said to my sister, "Oh, Emily, run through the kitchen, go and grab me a drink, would you?" And she's like, "Okay." Straight over again. She was over. There was something going on the floor, right? Something happening. It was like a fucking sketch. Turns out my gran had cleaned up a spill with the cloth that my mum uses to polish stuff. So she'd accidentally polished a section of the floor. And I realised that the floor is the one place that should never be polished. You should never polish a floor because it becomes like a fucking ice rink. And so my question, lads, what is the one thing that you should never polish?
Wow, that was a long
A
story
long way to get there. It was. But the floor is fucking dangerous. If you ever wanted to kill somebody, just polish the floor because it's like black ice. It's a silent killer. You can't see the floors being polished. It looks clean. You don't know, but you walk on it and you know straight away. And if you put something else down there that's dangerous to fall on, like, I don't know, a toaster and a bit of water, you've killed someone. That's like the perfect crime. That I swear there's no way you could get around that. And the police couldn't solve it because they wouldn't be able to walk on that surface. It would be so slippery. It's unbelievable. So again, the question is, what is the worst thing to polish? Phil, come across to you first.
I'm going to try and answer this one as honestly as I can, but your story very much reminds me. And I was trying to think, was it the Muppets Christmas Carol or the Muppets? They did like a Christmas episode and they were all in a house and they had lots of people visit them. You know, all the Muppet crowd would come in through the door and then they'd immediately, just like your story, slip over. And then throughout the whole episode or the whole movie, they always would say, "Watch the icy patch." So again, same sort of situation. Whoop, straight over. So someone walks through the door, straight over on that icy patch. You can never be too careful. Always got to watch the icy patch, or in your case, the polished floor.
100%.
Got to look out.
Definitely.
And much like you, and much like your nan, I've got wooden floors at my house, and my parents have got wooden floors. So I've been in that exact situation. I do the chores at home, and I do the downstairs. Laura does the upstairs. So normally I do a bit of polishing. And yes, some polish does from time to time spill onto the floor, and it's dangerous as hell. I've slipped over on the floor at home, and there was a time where someone, I'm not going to mention any names because I'm not friends with this person anymore. So it's quite a funny story, actually. We were having a sleepover and my mum happened to have, done a bit of polishing. Again, some of the polish hit that floor, wooden floor. And my friend, we got big like patio glass windows. He went running because he thought that it was see-through. He thought he could go through into the conservatory. He didn't see the windows. He couldn't stop because of the polish and slammed right into the door. We were inside, I think at the time, because we were having these sleepovers and we were playing N64, we were staying up late playing PlayStation, playing Resident Evil 2, I think at the time. So classic game, and he didn't want to miss out what was happening. So he ran full force, and by the time he realised it was a door, he couldn't stop because of the polish. And he literally knocked himself out.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. We didn't have the ambulance at the time because, that was a long time ago. We were talking, it must have been, 30 years now, maybe not, 25 years ago, right? So people didn't really care too much about their health in those days. It's not like now, someone gets a little cold, there was like, fucking hell, the whole world's going to finish. Back in those days, we were made of stronger stuff and people could run into windows and that was just fine. And he went over the next day and had no problems. Don't know how well he did in school after that. But anyway, back to my story. I think the worst thing to polish, and as I said, I normally do the downstairs. So my chore list, I do a bit of washing up in the kitchen, clean the kitchen, go around, do a bit of hoovering, mop the floors, and then in the living room, again with the wooden floor, I do a bit of polishing. And I was polishing around, had my dusters out, as you do, and I started to polish a very nice pair of wine glasses that my brother happened to buy me for said Christmas, because I'm a bit of a wino. I quite like wine. I quite like drinking. And he bought me some wine glasses. And of course, wine glasses, they attract all sorts of nonsense. They always get really furry, okay, these wine glasses. So I went there with my feather duster, and I happened just to knock it so slightly that one wine glass knocked into the next wine glass, and they both shattered.
Shattered?
Immediately shattered. They were quite like posh wine glasses. They're quite expensive ones. So the glass was like super duper thin. Super duper thin. So even just the slightest touch, slightest knockover, boom, boom, and they both smashed. And to this day, I've not actually told my brother that happened, or Laura. I just went and replaced them because I was so embarrassed that actually happened. So if either of them listen to this podcast, I'm sorry, but I don't think either of them do. So I've got away with it.
Scot-free.
It's our little secret. Remember that, listeners.
So you're saying the worst thing to polish is a glass. Now, when you're saying polish, surely you didn't use polish on the glass, did you? Because that would be... I can't imagine how difficult it would be to hold in the future. Like, no wonder. Yeah, oh my, it'd be gone straight away. It'd be flying out, bro. Like, surely it was just a dust, right? It was a dust that you were doing on it.
Correct. But I was polishing around the wine glasses. But there may have been some polish on my feather duster as I was prancing around the living room, singing Linkin Park to myself, knocking over wine glasses. So yeah, I would go with wine glasses because it was very dangerous at that point. So you've got a polished floor covered in glass.
Fucking nightmare.
So I'm one-upping you there. That's dangerous. That's becoming a trap at that point.
At that point, yeah, that's like you don't want Die Hard where he shoots all the glass and he has to run like over to the bathroom or whatever, and his feet all get cut up. If he was on polish on that dude, he would have like flown into that bathroom, and he definitely wouldn't have remotely even taken a shot because he would have been gone. But his feet would be obliterated. There'd be nothing left because it would just be the polish. What I'm learning from this is that no matter what surface it's on, if we polished the roads, we probably wouldn't need fuel, right? Because the car would keep going. You'd be able to do like an 8-hour commute. If they polished the outside of a fucking rocket when they sent it up into space, if they did this, that rocket would reach light speed in no time at all.
Here's one for you. What they should polish is train tracks.
That'd be wild. Yeah,
you just give it a little push and it just keep going, wouldn't it? It'd be quite hard to get on and off. It'd probably have to be a bit like an Indian train where you all have to like clamber on and hold on. Health and safety probably have a thing to say about it, but other than that, probably all right. Save a lot on fuel, a lot on electricity.
And speaking of, we can solve the electricity crisis because all you have to do is just get a piston going like once, and then you just polish it as it's going one way, and it's never going to stop. And it would just be, and you've solved it. Renewable energy for everyone. Done. All it needs that one little kickstart and a bit of spray of polish. And it's never going to stop. It's just unbelievably strong.
Elon Musk listens to the podcast, doesn't he?
I'm sure that he does. Yeah, I'm sure he does.
That'll be his next invention once he hears about it, because he's got the money to back it. Unfortunately, I've just had a wedding. You guys have just had to pay to come to my wedding. So we're all a little bit skint at the moment. So Elon, if you're listening, cut me a deal.
Elon, can you just chuck me a £2.50 so I can buy some more polish, please? Because I'm out.
Yeah, spent the whole day polishing everything just so you could come up with some weird question for the start of the show.
I'm totally dry. On polish. If anything, I'm a bit afraid of using it, to be honest. What about yourself, Lewis? Where are you going with this one?
I mean, is it weird that I keep picturing Phil dressed up in like a maid's outfit when he's doing his polishing? I think that's a bit, that's the first thing that came to mind.
I think it'd be weird if you didn't picture that, to be honest. 'Cause that's exactly how I imagine him to do it. Proper little tutu on, a little like crown, little thing in his hair, little stockings on. Oh.
Stockings on the floor. That is even more dangerous because stockings are pretty slippy.
They are. Yeah, they are.
Like,
they're a nightmare.
You're just doubling up and doubling up. Jesus Christ.
I don't really have any funny stories to do with polish, to be honest, but I think the obvious answer is surely staircase, right? Like, that would be a really bad thing to polish. If you don't want to be slipping down those stairs, I mean, if you had wooden stairs and you polished them, you'd be done. Surely that's the worst.
That's a game over. Or if you polished a stair lift, that grannies get in. Can you imagine how fast that thing would fly down, bro? They'd fly off. They'd be out the front door.
That's a bit like the train track, isn't it? One little push and they're straight up there.
They're absolutely gone. Yeah, they'd love it on the way up, but then on the way back down, it'd be like riding a roller coaster, bro. They'd be like, hanging on for dear life. Squish, bro. And they're brittle old people as well, aren't they? So it probably wouldn't she wouldn't splat, but it's just shatter. Like your wine glass, Phil. Yeah, I just dust there.
Dusted. Nice little pun there, Lewis. Congratulations. Well done.
Oh, I enjoy that. And
then you
a
go
lot.
for more polish then, and it's just an endless circle.
It is. It's in the cycle. And you're like, please don't get on that. Don't get on it. But actually, it wouldn't have stopped. So it's just this crazy stair lift just fucking going nuts, bro. But yeah, a banister would be a fucking nightmare as well. Yeah. Banister would be bad. You'd notice it pretty quick. At least you wouldn't lose your footing. But you know, like when you start to feel yourself going, especially if you're like really hungover or whatever, and your balance is kind of fucked, you get vertigo and stuff, and you reach on to like hold yourself up. That being slippy at that point, that's a death sentence, isn't it? Because you'd go front over on that.
Or a balcony of some kind. That would probably also really bad to polish. You don't want to do that.
I think what we're learning from this conversation is not only is polish probably one of the most dangerous substances on the planet, but anything that involves you touching that surface again, just it's written off. It's a no-go zone. So you got to make sure you polish away from any kind of any contact with flooring. It's just a fucking nightmare.
It feels like this should be like a Final Destination film or something. Like they've managed to avoid death from polish. Now something really weird happens with the polish. Just random places tries to kill him.
You're never going to walk into a supermarket, are you now, and look at polish in the same way? You'll look at it more as like a weapon now. You know, and start thinking of the options you're going to have. If you've got some polish and you need to get rid of someone, how am I going to do it? Am I going to polish the wine glasses? Am I going to polish the floor? Or am I just going to polish the stairs leading to a balcony?
Anything.
Which one?
When they're sleeping, you polish their hand. So when they wake up in the morning, they can't grab anything and they slowly starve to death.
What's the first thing you grab when you wake up, Davey?
Phone, normally.
Oh, he didn't go for it there, did he?
No.
Spencer's not on the show. I've got to bring some smut from time to time.
That's true. I don't grab that first thing. Definitely the phone to turn on the alarm, and then it would never turn off. So you'd slowly drive yourself insane, and then you go to pull the sheets off, you can't. So it's just a fucking nightmare. Like, that's the thing. Next stag do or whatever we go on, let's polish their hands, I reckon. That would fuck them. Like,
why am I so shiny and clean?
Yeah, well, I smell amazing. Yeah, oh god. You polish the bottom of their feet and their hands, dude. They're fucked. They're like a baby then, all day.
Like a cat on ice.
Just play the long game and just polish the aisle for their wedding day. It's like, haha, we got him now. Walking up the aisle, whoosh.
I'll never get married again, Lewis. So, you know, that's not angled at me. I'm already done that one. One and done for me, sorry.
Be careful about polish, Davey.
Oh, God, I will. Well, I think we spent long enough on this conversation, but audience, I would love to know if you've got any interesting, funny, or just any stories about polish, to be honest. It's surprising how universal this theme seems to be with polish. So let me know. Have you become a victim of falling on the floor? Do you need compensation? Maybe this is a way that I can pivot my career here. I can go into like a lawyer's advert on TV. Have you succumbed to falling because of a polished floor? Well, phone 1-800-I-HATE-POLISH. You know, whatever. Let me know, audience. Write in.
Do you remember those Declan Swan adverts? Or is that slightly before your time? So there used to be a compensation advert, and the kid was like, "My name's Declan Swan," and he like fell off like I don't know, like a climbing frame, and it was all about suing them for like massive money, and it was like a whole meme thing before the meme culture started off. And I remember it being on like TV shows such as like Soccer AM. They would always reference it. Oh, nice. I think, Lewis, you probably remember Soccer AM with Tim Lovejoy.
Oh, I love Soccer AM, yeah.
There's one for someone who's about 38, male, and used to watch these shows. They'll understand that reference. For everyone else, Google it.
And so with that, Declan Swan, whoever the hell this guy is, let's end this and move it on to what we've been playing.
This time on NPS We Trust, what have the boys been playing?
So guys, it's been a couple of weeks since our last podcast, and I'm desperate to know what you've been up to in that time. Now, Lewis, as our guest, I would love to know, what have you been playing these last 2 weeks?
Right, well, there's one game we've all been playing, which we'll talk about in a minute, but the game I've been playing that you guys haven't is Vampire Survivors. I've also got Spencer addicted to it, so I'm sorry, you probably won't see him for a while because he's obsessed with it.
That's where he is.
Probably, yeah. For people who don't know what Vampire Survivors is, it's like a reverse bullet hell game. It was very popular about 2 years ago. It was one of my Game of the Year nominees in 2022, I think. Only losing to Elden Ring, because that's like, obviously that game is amazing. But yeah, I was obsessed with it. Like 2 years ago, I basically would play it till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and now it's just come to PlayStation. I'm like, ooh, you know what? I fancy a cheeky platinum. This game's only like £3. Let's try and play it. I've been playing it non-stop, and I've only got like half the trophy so far, and I'm like 12, 13 hours into it. So it's not an easy platinum by any means, but I want the platinum. And then I'll probably play it again to get the platinum on the PS4 version as well, because I do love this game a lot. I'm addicted to it. It's very simple gameplay, but it's just fun, chill. It's like a fun, chill game. Me and Spencer are playing it over remote play, like share play, because it's got local co-op. But obviously we were together, so I was playing it over the internet on his PS5, and he was playing it on my PS5, and it's a lot of fun. So it's a fun couch co-op game, fun arcadey first person, like 1-person game as well. It's a lot of fun.
What is Vampire Survivors? I know I remember seeing loads of buzz about it, especially from yourself on its release, and you were talking absolute nonsense when you were like, and I haven't played the game, so maybe I'm going to change my mind on this, but you were like, God of War, oh, it's all about Vampire Survivors, mate, and I was thinking, what the fuck? And I looked at it and I was like, are you insane? But then I don't even know what it is. So enlighten me, what kind of game is this?
It's like, it's called, I think the term they use is a reverse bullet hell game. So you play the vampire survivor, the character, and then you collect certain power-ups and stuff, and it basically levels your character up, and you end up killing more and more spirits and stuff. The guy who made this game used to make slot machines, so he knows like how to make, like, it's basically just an endorphin, like, wet dream. You just go in that game, it's like, oh yes, more trophies, more unlockables, trophies, it's great. And it's just basically lots of pixels and explosions going on. It's just basically, yeah, it's people who have a short attention span and can't be bothered listening to stories about a boy and his father. If you just like seeing pixels exploding on the screen, this is the game for you, for sure.
Oh, well.
Pretty colours. Ooh.
That's all it takes with the mind of an Xbox fan, isn't it? You know, it's like, you don't have
keep
stories.
It simple.
Yeah, just keep it simple. Keep it something
colourful.
Yeah, colours, exploding stuff. Oh, I like exploding stuff. I like Halo. This is going to be great. No. I don't have to think about the story. Can I pretend this is Master Chief? No, well, if you want to, mate, it looks like a fucking arse. Yeah.
It's one of those games that it doesn't look very good when you look at gameplay and stuff, but once you play it, it just clicks. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. It's like, it's one of those things you've got to kind of play it to get it. For £3, you can't really go wrong. It's a nice little fun indie game to play. So I'm enjoying playing it again. I got all 227 achievements on my Xbox version. And I'm trying to get all the trophies. Wow. I'm trying to get all the trophies on the PlayStation one now. And then I'm going to do it again for PS4.
Well, that was going to be my question, Lewis. So you said you've played it through on Xbox already, and you've got all of the achievements over there. So you've got the equivalent of said platinum on the PlayStation. Now, have you had a look into the completion rate for Vampire Survivor over on PlayStation? And if you have, is there any trophies within that you're slightly worried about? You know, sometimes on a PlayStation trophy list there tends to be a gotcha, and it's always my go-to question when it's a game I've never played, but there's an option to play it sometime in the future. You rave about this game. I've got a PS Portal. I'm always looking for those small, short experiences that I can imagine being quite good on a PlayStation Portal. I can imagine that type of game, the way you explained it, would translate to a PlayStation Portal pretty well. Now, on the Platinum side, do you think there's any gotchas? Do you think there's anything that you're going to struggle with coming up?
It's more time than actual challenge, I think, a lot of the trophies. Luckily, the PlayStation version has the base trophy list from the game when it first came out, and then like tiers of different trophies. So there's 227 trophies, I believe. You only need 50, I think, to get the platinum. So there's still there's loads of extra trophies, but to get the platinum, you only need to complete the base section, which is the Vampire Survivors.
That makes sense. So it's what the game originally kind of launched with would be
Xbox,
to get the platinum, and then everything else is bundled on top. Whereas, because if I'm right, and please school me if I'm wrong on this, with the Xbox system for achievements, as soon as they release more, you don't have the 1,000 score anymore. Is that right? Or does it just keep going, your score?
It just keeps going, so you get more and more achievements.
I see.
So with Vampire Survivors, I go like 2,700 achievement points on that game.
Oh, wow, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
I get it.
But you don't get like a platinum or anything. And it is also, each achievement just gets added to the list, so it's not separated into DLC and base game. It's just all one list, which is kind of find annoying, to be honest. I wish they had a way of having a platinum or whatever on the Xbox. That is the main selling point for me. It's like, oh, I want a platinum on the PlayStation. So
It does
like,
feel nice.
It does. I do want the platinum on it. Yeah, it was one of those games I was really proud to complete on Xbox. Like, yeah, I got all the achievements on it. I'm really proud of myself. And then it's like, well, I can't really prove it unless but if a platinum's on my profile, that kind of proves that I've completed it, right? I'm not sure what the percentage was. It was quite low when I first downloaded it. This game's only been out about a week on PlayStation, so it'd probably be quite low at the moment. But I imagine a lot of people end up getting it eventually. It's not a super difficult platinum from what I can tell. As I said, it's just time consuming more than anything. Like, you've got to complete each level multiple times with multiple characters and unlock like all the items and stuff like that. So it's more of a time consuming thing than an actual challenging thing, I would say. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing some more of it and getting the platinum, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Nice, mate. Well, you have to keep us updated on that. What about yourself, Mr. Hoy? What have you been up to these last 2 weeks?
Well, I got married, Davey. I don't know if I've mentioned it yet in the show. I got married.
You did? Congratulations.
So, yeah, I've been pretty busy. I haven't really got a lot to talk about within this section outside a small amount of Stellar Blade. So I feel like I'm getting pretty close, as I said on the last podcast. I've got a little bit further, but I've mainly been spending my time just dipping in and mopping up some of the side quests, okay? So I've just completed 2 quite challenging bosses, and Spencer, when you listen back to this, and Davey, you'll really enjoy this because it was 2 bosses that, again, I spoke too soon with Stellar Blade. They got really, really hard. But I think I was trying to take them on quite early on. And now I've gone back, done some of the side quests, leveled up Eve, unlocked more of her abilities. And now those bosses became that much easier, and I was able to succumb both those bosses. So I'm very happy that I was able to down both the blockers, if you like, within the Great Desert for the people that have played Stellar Blade. But that would be my achievement over the last 2 weeks outside finding my life partner and getting married. I also spent some money as well. I shouldn't be doing this. And this is why I found a little thing called Pay in 3. And it's probably not the right thing to be doing, but I couldn't resist it because, of course, Astros and Warhammer Space Marine 2 is just on the horizon. Astros was out Friday the 6th of September and scored 95 on Metacritic and scored me a whopping 29 points on Metacritic. Whee! And Space Marine 2 comes out Monday the 9th of September, 83 on Metacritic, and that scores me 13 points. And just talking about Fantasy Critic as we are, I'm on 129 points, plus the 13, because that hasn't been calculated when I looked earlier, but I can do that simple maths. It's 142. So I'm looking pretty sweet for the end of the year. I've only got Football Manager to go, Football Manager 2025. They always score well, but there is some counter picks with Indiana Jones and Silent Hill. Now, I know, Davey, we were chatting the other night when we're online, and you said I got no chance in topping the leaderboard when it comes to the Fantasy Critic, and I think you're gonna stand by that, and I think there might be a challenge on the way, right?
There certainly is, yeah. So I have got a number of releases to go. In fact, I will pull up my list. Now, Phil, you're quite right. You are nearly doubling my points right now at this moment. So you're at 128 points with none of your counter picks coming in yet. I'm at 67 points with 1 counter pick already gone, which did damage me quite a lot. It was Destiny 2, The Final Shape, which I lost 22 points on. So pretty mighty.
Who did you counter pick?
That was you I counter picked on that one.
Oh, and if only I had prepared the Phil Was Right song. Because at that point, I could have played it. But we probably would have been done for copyright, so probably good I haven't done it.
Yeah, that's probably true. So the difference is you've only got 1 game left to go now. I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 to go.
Okay.
So there's a lot to play for. My games left, Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, which we have a side bet on, you and me, which is going to score higher at Metacritic, which is between Football Manager or Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero. So I look.
It's what everybody wants to know. It's the question that's on everybody's lips. You're either in one camp or the other, aren't you? You're either in the lads' camp or the Nerds Camp. So, lads, Football Manager 2025. That's where it's at.
So we'll see. We'll see on that one. There's 2 shots on the line for that one. I've got that. I've got The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, which I think it's a Game of the Year contender. I think it's going to be personally between that, Final Fantasy, or Astro, by the looks of it, for Game of the Year, unless they allow Shadow of the Erdtree, which could end up taking it. I don't know if they'll allow that or not. But I've got that, and that's a big get. So that is my golden goose. But backing that up, I've got the Plucky Squire, Skydance's Behemoth, which looks like an absolutely fantastic PSVR 2 title, and one I think is going to go over really well with critics unless the studio fuck it, which is Life is Strange Double Exposure. The original Life is Strange did insanely well, and there's a lot of love for these characters. So seeing Max Caldwell return in another Life is Strange adventure, it could very well hit that nostalgia bead at just the right time to tickle those critics to giving it high scores. So I'm hoping for that. My only chink in my armour is my other counterpick, which I did for a laugh, joining in with the banter against Lewis, which is Metaphor Refantizio, or whatever it's called. And that game actually looks great. So I got to find out if there's a way I can bin off that counterpick and pick something else, because I will pick fucking Football Manager every goddamn day of the week. So that's my thing. I really don't want that counterpick because I think it's going to be damaging. And the reason I think you're going to struggle, Phil, and the reason why I'm going to take a bet against you in a moment, is that you having Indie and Silent Hill 2 as your counterpicks are going to fucking wreck your score.
Nothing. They're nothing. We all know Indiana Jones is going to get delayed, don't we? It's Xbox. They promise a date and they move it back. You know that's going to happen, so I'll get 0 at that point. We're going to get towards Christmas and they go, oh, I'm sorry, Indy wasn't ready, was it? We're going to move it back. We're going to launch at the same date as PlayStation.
Oh my God, can you imagine that? It's actually...
Fucking pissed.
that's not actually a bad shout, to be fair. It could happen. Like it is reasonable that
Phil
could happen.
was right. Phil was right.
You guys all fucked me. Like, you were talking about the counterpicks. You've all fucked me royally. Like, I can't get rid of Avowed because you counterpick. Like, who counterpicked me for that? I can't even remember.
Spencer for that one.
I'm just stuck. All my games are stuck because you counterpicked me. So I was like, I can't even make any changes. This is fucking bullshit.
And it's ironic because you were the one that invited us all to play the Fantasy Critic. So it's your game and we've just spoiled it.
Yeah. It always happens. It's fear, isn't it?
You're not doing too bad then, Lewis. You're on 43 points at the moment, but you got a stack of games to come. So, as you said, Avowed's not going to make it, but you got Indie, Flight Sim 2024 for all those losers that can't afford playing lessons or can't be asked. And you got Metaphor Refantazio.
Most people then. Most people who can't fly a plane.
Cheap as chips, mate. Go on Groupon. You'll get a license in no time at all for like 25 quid, I reckon. Fucking easy.
How many planes have you flown? I live in Bristol, right? And I got married quite close to the airport. I didn't see you coming in on the airport. Like flying in.
I'm not interested. I'm not interested, mate. I'm not interested. But I tell you what I would do. I'd sooner rather do that than play Microsoft Flight Sim. Spend 8 hours flying over to fucking, flying over to New York in a fucking in a bad wind. Oh, for a joke we did, yeah.
I don't know.
For a joke we did, yeah. You got too good of a memory, you do, Lewis. I'd rather you not use that memory, if you don't mind. So, Lewis, you got Mario and Luigi Brothership, Ara History Untold, Starfield Shattered Space, and Frostpunk 2.
I reckon that'll be all right. The Starfield one, I think, will be good. That genuinely looked interesting. So I'm hoping for your sake, Lewis, that bumps you up a little bit.
I'm so annoyed that you took Zelda from me, though. I think we've said this multiple times, but I was like, there's no way that anyone's going to outbid me for Zelda. I'll put $30 on it, and then you put like 50 or 60 on it. I'm like, fuck's sake. I'm so annoyed.
I was like this hell. I need this, bro. I saw it, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to score so well. It looks so good. I was like...
And I'm hoping...
Everything.
And I'm really hoping the Dragon Ball Z review's lower than Football Manager because I counterpick Dragon Ball Z, so I'm really hoping that's not going to do well.
It's going to
get in.
Give it a 7. Give it a 7 out of 10, please, or a 6. That'd be great. I would appreciate
it. If it reviews bad, I will burn IGN down. I will fucking burn it down.
What if it gets a 6 out of 10?
If it gets a 6 or a 7, I'm going to burn it fucking down.
Everything gets a 7. That's their default.
Starfield got
it all
a 7.
depends.
It's a good game.
Yeah,
With IGN, it all depends, if the studio's given many backhanders, surely. So if you don't, they just give you a 7. If they dislike you for any reason, they score you a little bit lower. But most games, they just get a 7, so...
I'm praying to God. This game, to me, is a fucking dream. A wet dream come true, right? It's like a fucking absolute... a diamond. And all they need is, if they get a Dragon Ball fan reviewing it, bro, it's a 10. It's going to be a 10. Can you imagine it scores a 90? It'd be wild. I imagine it's going to get in the 80s. I imagine it's going to be like an 82er.
Wow, I would take that.
The thing is, this is not just IGN's reviews. This is the reviews of all reviewers. So you might get lucky on one website might go a bit crazy and have a Dragon Ball fan. But I don't think all of them are going to go, you know what, 10 out of 10. I don't see it happening.
Being excited for a Dragon Ball Z game is one step away from being excited about that little girl game dressing up with cats.
No, it's
the same track.
You're
one of them.
Infinity.
You are
Nikki.
one of them.
I am not.
You're on that list.
No way.
You're on the waiting list. That's what it is.
There's nothing more manly than being into Dragon Ball. People would not go to the gym if it wasn't for Dragon Ball, mate. Everyone saw training and they thought, that looks cool. I'll go and do that. 250 times gravity. They get in there, lift a couple of weights and realize, it's not quite the same. Apparently, I can't shoot beams now.
And you don't think people are in the gym because they've been watching football? And they're like, do you know what? I want abs like Mo Salah.
No.
Because that guy's shredded.
Nah,
to be fair, in Davey's defense, whenever I go to the gym, I always see a load of people with Dragon Ball Z shirts or with Dragon Ball Z tattoos.
Yeah, but where'd you go to the gym?
I don't know why.
Lewis, where do you go to the gym?
I go to a weird gym, to be fair.
Exactly.
So that's probably why, yeah.
me and Davey went to a Newport gym. That's where we were brought up. Well, actually, we were brought up in Davis's gym to start off with. And then we gravitated towards a Newport gym. So we've seen the rough and the smooth with it all. And that was full of lads.
Yeah, and we were the only ones in Dragon Ball gear.
You were.
And you
got told off.
I did, yeah. I did. Yeah, I was in freezer leggings, and the guy was like, "Can't be wearing those, mate." And I was like, "What you on about?" And he's like, walking around, you're wearing leggings. And I was like, "Mate, you work in a gym, you got a beer gut. Like, don't fucking talk to me about shape. Look at the size of you, bro." And then I didn't wear them again. So he did put me off wearing them, and I liked those freezer leggings. I had. Never mind.
Can wear them to Lewis's gym.
Yeah,
could do. Yeah, fit right in. I'll fit right in. Right, let's move it away from that. Let's go on to this bet then, Phil. How many shots do you want to put on it? Because I am confident I will win.
Mate, let's say 5. I think 5 is
5 for an end of year.
5 is quite a lot, right? And I think it isn't 5 all in one time. It's a bit like winning the crown.
Yeah, you can.
Same sort of situation. You can dispense them at your will, and if you forget, you lose them.
Agreed. Okay, 5 it is. 5 shots for who will win out of you and me on this.
Sounds good to me.
All right, whoever scores the most, there it is. Locked in. You remember that, listeners. That is locked in. But let's move it away from shots and things like that, and I want to talk to you about the game that I've been playing. So I've been playing a little game that I've done a little bit on my portal, but then mostly at home. And the reason for that is because it does not fit the portal in any way, shape, or form. And I had no idea this was the case. The game, of course, is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. And I am about 9-ish hours into the experience now. And I feel like I'm getting pretty good. I'm getting pretty good at the combat. I've got a good little rhythm for it. I've got a good little rhyme. But at first, my first 6 hours or so, I did not enjoy it. And mostly that was because I was on the portal. And I was like, fuck me, it's fucking me over every single time. I had no idea how my reactions, how sharp they would need to be for this. For like the parries, the dodges, kind of just the general combat. I had no idea. And I was playing on the portal and I just noticed it was holding me back. Because there was that tiny bit of latency, which was enough for me to miss dodges, to miss attacks, to be able to miss little things. And it was fucking pissing me off. And so it got to the point where I was like, fuck this. Like, fuck this. I'll just go and play Metal Gear. And that's what I did. I just played Metal Gear Solid. And it was so annoying that it really made me see that there are experiences which are for the portal and ones that aren't. And something like Pacific Drive was perfect on the Portal. Metal Gear's been perfect on the Portal. You know, like 30 FPS, 60 FPS games are fine on it too. But ones that don't need that moment-to-moment Twitch kind of base gameplay, and it further cements there is no way you could play something like COD on this, on the Portal, absolutely no chance.
So would you say it's better to have a console that has native specs where you can play stuff natively without an internet connection? Native.
Yeah, I suppose the problem is, mate, you're still a PC loser with one of those, and I'd rather not cross that bridge, mate. You're one step away from being able to hit. I bet you can print things out on that. Can you? Can you connect a printer to
probably
it?
Got a fax machine on it.
Yeah,
probably could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as you
that's
can do
a bad
that,
thing to have more options with your system instead of just a tablet that does one thing. Yeah, that's bad. You're right. You got me.
I feel like, Lewis, you should have said that, but done this kind of movement as if you're fishing, because you were definitely trying to open. You were definitely trying to open a can of worms with that conversation, but we've swerved it because I'm on both sides, as you can see. I've got Steam Deck and the PlayStation Portal behind me, so I can fight either side. But at the moment, I'm a loyalist. We're on the PlayStation podcast. The Portal is the best thing ever. So stay away from having a go at what Davey loves. He's converted. Don't turn him back.
I've been. This is the thing. I agree with you, Lewis. I would much prefer it to be a handheld, like an actual handheld. I would kill for it to be like the Vita or the PSP or whatever it is, right? Yeah. I would kill for that. That's the dream. This is just a solution. Whereas on the ROG Ally, I might as well just fucking buy an Xbox off Marketplace. They're all being sold on there for fuck all. So I might as well just do that and get one for every room, right? Like, there's no real benefit. Like, for me, it's just the convenience to be able to play it over my missus' house. And that's it. And that's its job, right? That's what it's for. But I would much prefer actual handheld. But the point is, Prince of Persia, I'm really enjoying it. I can see why you loved it so much, Phil. I really can. The gameplay is phenomenal on it. The story I'm not invested in. I don't really give two fucks. But the actual game, the way it looks, its presentation, its music, and its characters are quite charming. Even if I generally don't care. Like, the things are happening, I couldn't give less of a fuck, to be honest. And I think it's the way the cutscenes are delivered, where it's a case that it comes up with a solid picture, and you click through and press X, and the dialogue doesn't move on until you press X. And I think that just makes me think, I'm not going to fuck. I'm not going to read it. Like, I can't be asked. I just want to go and I want to fight bosses. That's all I want to do, and find power-ups and explore.
And the bosses are some of the best parts of Prince of Persia. And there's a particular boss, and I mentioned this when we were chatting the other night, that there's a lot of parallels to the game I've just slagged off, Dragon Ball. You know, there's lots of moments in it where there's big kind of beams going through and people are thrown through rocks. And it is very reminiscent of a Dragon Ball Z episode. So I could imagine you popping right off and dropping your portal. So it's quite good. You've got the protective cover on that portal, because as soon as that happens, I can see you throwing it up in the air in disbelief that something like this is happening outside Dragon Ball Z. Oh my God, look at this. But there is some incredible moments, and you've got a lot of nice stuff to come within Prince of Persia. And the combat, just to mention it quickly, it is some of the best sort of 2D, fighting combat going. It's like a fighting game. It's really super intricate, and it just stacks and stacks and stacks as more abilities are sort of unlocked as you progress through the game. But just before I throw it back to you, and you've got to get this game now completed before the 17th of September, because we've got DLC coming out. We've got the Prince of Persia, the Lost Crowns, Mask of Darkness. So they've just added the Mask of Darkness onto the end of the Lost Crown. So that's coming out 17th, and it looks action-packed. It looks very, very cheap, and there's going to be lots of new features and a slight continuation of the story. So I'll be straight on that one.
Looking forward to it, mate. I think the only thing that's going to get in its way now is that Astro has arrived at mine. And so that now takes precedent. Like, I want to play that desperately, especially before I put my son on it, and I end up seeing most of the game because he's hogging my PlayStation. So I need to focus on that and get it done. And I feel like that's going to be quite a quick experience, as opposed to Prince of Persia, which I can see I want to go for Platinum on it. Yeah, I can see I do already.
The Platinum's got a certain trophy within it, or a certain bunch of trophies that are related to one aspect of the game. And there's an area called, I think it's called the Impossible Climb. So yeah, look forward to that one because it is impossible. I haven't actually done it. It's the reason I haven't got the platinum on this game.
It's mad though because the game's got a 10.5% platinum completion rate.
Oh, so well, maybe it's easier than I thought, but I couldn't do it.
It must be that you got so many options in the accessibility that you can turn on, like portals to help you with really hard platforming sections and stuff. So I imagine what's happened is that people have probably got fucked off with it and thought, well, I'm just going to turn on all the accessibility features and cheese my way to the platty. That's probably what's happened. Hopefully I'm not going to cross that line. I don't like cheating on something like that, so I'll try not to. It would have to really fucking destroy me for me to actually turn that on, but I'm sure I will update you when I get there. But it's going to go on hold for a week or two while I get Astro done, and then I'll return to Prince of Persia because I want to make sure I give it its full look through before we go to our Game of the Year discussions. So I want to make sure I give it the shine that it does deserve. Now, Lewis, I think you've had a go on Prince of Persia, have you not?
Yeah, it's great. I haven't finished it. I think I got like 3/4 of the way through it, and then Elden Ring came out, so I kind of got distracted, and then I haven't gone back to it. I'm just like you though. Like I really want to play Astrobot now, and I don't really see myself going back to Prince of Persia this moment. But now you said that DLC's coming, that makes me like kind of want to play it like quite desperately. But I was saying to you guys earlier, September is stacked. Like this is the most stacked month, like for me anyway. You got Zelda, Starfield DLC. You got Prince of Persia DLC, Astrobot. Dead Rising Remastered,
Space Marine.
Yeah, that's what they chose when they say Warhammer. It's absolutely stacked. I don't know if I'm going to have time to play more Prince of Persia, but I want to get back to it. That game is really fun from what I played. I love a good Metroidvania, and it's a very solid Metroidvania type game. Recommend it for people who like those type of games for sure. I need to get back to it. The trophies are... Well, I was playing on Xbox. I won't get many achievements. I think it's like a lot of them are stacked towards the end of the game.
It seems like that from the list. Studying the list and looking at a trophy guide to see if there's anything missable or anything. And it doesn't look like there is. It looks like after you complete the story, you can go back and explore everything. So that's what I'm trying to do at the moment because I'm finding the same thing that you always find in Metroidvanias. Of you find those dead ends, don't you? Those things you don't have the ability for. And I like that you can then use like the memories and be able to save that on your map. But then I think, why am I wasting my time? Because I could just go and do the story through, get all the abilities, and then just enjoy the exploration. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and mainline it to be able to do that. And it might mean that the bosses are a little bit harder, but I'm cracked on the sticks. These bosses ain't going to have a chance, bro. So we'll see, and I may be walking that back very quickly. We'll see in a future episode.
It's a curse saying that type of thing, Davey.
It is.
I've said it far too many times. And I'm not cracked on the sticks.
Miss you, Spencer.
Yeah, definitely a Spencerism there.
Yeah.
But let's end this section by talking about a game that we have been playing to death. We played it a lot. And unfortunately, we will not, to death, because we will not be able to play it again, or not for the foreseeable. And that is Concord. So we have all been playing it. Lewis, I want to get your thoughts on Concord, really, because I don't think we've had you on since Concord launched, because, I mean, it was only 2 weeks that it's been up for. So you're an Xbox guy, and people would be, if you were listening to us for the first time, listeners, you may think, they're just fucking apologists for PlayStation. They love everything fucking PlayStation. You're an Xbox guy. This is probably the most you've played your PlayStation ever, right? Or this generation, certainly this year with Helldivers and now Concord. Give me your thoughts on it, Lewis.
Yes, I mean, when I knew that you were going to be talking about Concord, I was very insistent I should be on the podcast this week because as you just said yourself, I wanted to put across that this is a good game, and it's not just the fact that you're all PlayStation guys that you're saying it. As an Xbox guy, I fully admit this is a really decent game, and it's kind of sad that, well, it is very sad that it's dying, it's dead. It's like, cause I think at this moment in time we can't play it anymore. I think it is officially dead now, right? I'm gutted, honestly. It was made by ex-Bungie devs. It was a fairly fun. It wasn't the best first-person shooter I've ever played, but by any means, it's definitely not the worst. It was very decent quality. It was like the fact that this did worse than Redfall, did worse than Forspoken, and all that is an absolute travesty because this game is a solid first-person shooter, and it was a lot of fun while we played it. I'm bummed that it's gone, to be honest, and it also makes me sad for the future of first-person shooters because it basically says to developers, make all of them first free to play. Like, no one wants to pay up front anymore. And that sucks. I'd rather pay 40 quid for a game like Concord or Halo Infinite and not have to pay for battle passes every couple of months and custom skins and all that. I'd rather just have it all up front. And it's sad that this was such an epic failure, unfortunately. I mean, we all enjoyed it, but unfortunately it was a not very successful game.
No, exactly. You're right. And I mean, we'll get more into the nitty gritty of everything with Concord later on, but it's been a bit of a zeitgeist moment for us. I mean, since the beta, and we played it, and it really just sold us on it, on how competent this game is. And it's been that driving force that it hasn't just been a Thursday we've been playing it. Like, we set up a group on PlayStation, and we've been hopping in. There's been someone in that group every single fucking goddamn day. And it may not be like me, I might be down Karen, so I haven't been able to play as much as I wanted to, but we've been able to rack up a good amount of levels. And especially like Maloon, listening to the show, he's been absolutely playing it to death, absolutely playing it to death. And it's such a shame that now that's it, there's no more. Like, we've had so many great nights on it, and it's been an absolute privilege to play that game with you lads, because I've loved every single goddamn minute of this game, and it's a shame. And if you didn't experience it, or if you didn't give it a chance, listener, you've missed out, because it has been a phenomenal experience, and we've had such a good time playing it through together. I mean, Phil, has your opinion changed on Concord, or are you very much drinking at the same Kool-Aid as me and Lewis here?
I have to agree with everything you boys have said, and it's a dark day to see something that has had so much backing from Sony. And of course, we're meant to be seeing, Concord referenced in Astrobot. We're meant to be seeing it come up on the Amazon show. Like, they put some serious money behind Concord. They even came out with a personalized handset around Concord. They didn't think it was gonna turn out the way it has, but unfortunately, that's the way the cookie has crumbled on Concord. And it's sad because we were just getting to the point of the really, really intense matches. We were playing last night, and my God, I got up and cheered after we won, because we got knocked behind. I think we were playing one of the Leeds game designers, Claude, I think, was on the opposition. And it was us three, along with Maloon. And they were absolutely, taking the lead. They were owning us. And we started to panic, as you do in Concord. But we got together, we rallied, we put together the Amari and Dawn combo, and that shit's cracked. We put the dome up, we started putting the healing down. You had the big shield going up, you were dropping your armor on everybody, and we pulled it back. And it was just a great moment, because it was that point where the game clicked. Now, I've played it quite a lot. I've probably played about 20, 25 hours of Concord over the beta and the release. And that's a lot for me, because I'm not on the PlayStation 24/7 like Spencer and Davey. Obviously, you got a lot more hours to play PlayStation than I have. But we have just got to the point where the game just ticked, and it was like magic. And I just wish that moment lasted a little bit longer, because I think there's so many characters within the game, and there's going to be so much synergy that we've just missed out on. Yeah. I could only admit to actually understanding maybe 3 characters.
Yeah, same.
And I wouldn't say on a high level, but I would say to a competent level. Now, there is a lot more than 3 characters within the game, and then if you multiply that when we start doing the teamwork between 2 characters, or even 3 characters, 4 characters, the mind boggles of what could have been possible with that game.
It's crazy, man. I mean, like, you get, Amari is the character I understand the most. 100% I understand. I understand all the weaknesses. I know everything about her. Devia's a close second, and Rocker up there with Devia's as well, probably taking that second spot. And I know their strengths, I know their weaknesses, I know where they should play, what they should do, who they kind of need to support them. I know that with them. But then you think, right, well, if we got you and me having some like insane synergy, what would happen then if, Lewis, you found a character that vibes with those and could strengthen that? Like, Spence had it with Itzy because he would get on the end of everything. And that was his role, and he did that role super well, to be able to position round, get into the right positions, and not play lone wolf, because there's no way you can in this game, but to be able to get on the end of the damage that we were dishing out and to finish. And that was his job. And so that worked well. Maloon getting in there and using like a DPS kind of role and playing back a little bit and shooting stuff. It all started clicking. And I think, as you said, all we needed was a couple more hours before we probably would have had a competent 5-piece that would just fuck. Like, there was nothing that people could do. And we were so close to be able to figure that out and have that, like, watertight, and it's just gone. Such a shame.
Maloon came in with the Haymar version 2. Of course, that's got the quicker reloads, I believe. And it just came in clutch so often for us within that game. And it just fucked. We were just doing so well, the 4 of us online. Unfortunately, Spence was absent during that time. But I can't imagine what would have been possible if we had like a month together playing this game. 2 months playing this game. I think there was just so many levels that were left unlocked with this game. And it's so sad that when possibly it comes back, and we'll talk about this when we get to the topic, because of course Concord is our topic, is our main topic that we're talking about. I hope it doesn't change too much. I really don't, because what's there is a fabulous game, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it.
Hell yeah. And with that, we'll end this section of the show. But I will mention that if you do want to hear more thoughts, and I think, Phil, you did catch a shed load of gameplay. So if you want to see more, head on over to our blog. There's a load of written content on there, but I'm sure it's not too much of a stretch to be able to put some video stuff out. And who knows, we could always get some little bits where we commentate some gameplay, Phil, and maybe get that up on there. That would be quite a nice little thing to do.
Yeah.
So heading over to the blog, the description of the show will have the link to the blog in there. Go on in. Phil's doing a great job in there, posting in there pretty much daily, and they're all nice little written pieces. But I'm happy to expand and do some. My content creation hat has not been on recently. I have not been doing much on YouTube, so I'm quite happy to go in and do some commentary and do some stuff that maybe even like some odd character pieces about things and whatever it is. Go on in, check it out. It's well worth your time, listeners. It really, really is. And finally, we do also have a Discord. So the Discord is run by Phil. He's in there all the time. So if you want to chat to the fine wine himself, head on over to our Discord, again in the description of the show. Me and Spence are like celebs. We drop in every now and again. You know, it's a special day when we turn up to the Discord. And Lewis, of course, you are in there as well. So if you want to speak to any of us and get some thoughts, opinion pieces, whatever it is, just pick our brains. Discord is probably one of the best places to do it. So go on in there, and at least you can chat to Phil. And every now and again, you may be graced with my presence. But I don't let you know when that is. So you're going to have to keep checking, all right?
I mean, the last time I went on the Discord, there was like 100 pictures of me on there, and I was very confused what was going on. It was just like, why is there pictures of me everywhere? It was like a shrine. It was very odd. Can you explain that to me,
It's for the memes, mate. It's for the memes.
Yeah, it was just me like 20 times. I'm like, what the hell?
We just love you, Lewis. You're popping up everywhere. We can't get enough of you, and the listeners can't either. We all love you, Lewis. So that's why you're all over the Discord.
The best thing we ever did was hack his webcam on it so we could watch him while he sleeps. It's the best thing we ever did. Best thing we ever did.
It's weird he's got so many webcams pointing at his bed.
Yeah, all at his dick as well. And it's just constant dick pics all the time. Just constant. Yeah. It's mad.
Yeah, that's why OnlyFans, guys.
How many bonuses are you going to get tonight, lads? It's just a constant bet in the Discord. Is it 4 tonight? And then there's people in there watching diligently. That's like the best.
Is he using polish?
Find out. Find out next time on Discord. But come on into Discord and see what we're all up to. But with that, we'll leave this and we'll move it on to the quick news. Quick news.
Quick news. And we've had a little break. We've made ourselves a cup of tea. We've refilled the water and we're ready to go head first into the quick news. Now, we've picked out the latest and greatest to present you from the PlayStation Network. We have 6 beautiful stories to talk about, but we like to spice it up as we do each week. And Lewis, you're an avid listener, so you understand lately we've been doing categories where it goes round in a circle. It goes from myself to Davey to you, and we have to keep into the categories. So, for example, we did cereals at one point, didn't we? So Davey would say Weetabix, you would say Cocoa Pops, and I would say Rice Krispies. And we would keep going round until either someone stutters, someone hasn't got an answer, or they repeat something. And that goes across the whole of Quick News, and that gives you a mark against your name if you make a mistake. And then at the end of Quick News, whoever's made the most mistakes gets a shot in the dock for the big quiz. Now, Davey, I've been thinking long and hard of a category that we can start today off with. And I think in honor of Linkin Park returning, I'm not going to do Linkin Park albums or Linkin Park songs. I'm going to bust this wide open, and we're going to go for bands that were on Kerrang in the 2000s.
Let's start this off then, shall we? Limp Bizkit.
Panic at the Disco.
Linkin Park.
Korn.
Tenacious D.
Sum 41.
And Shikari.
Blink 182.
Papa Roach.
Slayer.
Fall Out Boy.
Static X.
Drowning Pool.
You said Papa Roach. Shit.
Oh!
Oh! I was running out of ideas. I was like, shit. Sorry, Spence. Fuck.
This could be my day. This could be my day.
I'm sorry, Spence. I'm really trying, I swear.
Well, the first piece I've got for you today, guys, is a new trailer has come out for a new VR game, new PSVR 2 title, and it's called Pools, right? All it is a photorealistic game of you are in a load of different pools. So you have a load of different water slides that you can go on. You've got different pool environments that you're walking through. Now, this game caught my attention because of how photorealistic it is. And it just reminded me of Kayak VR. However, in doing some research on this game came out for normal PC VR a couple months back in April. It's sitting at a 9 out of 10 rating with 2,719 reviews. Apparently this game, and I didn't get this from watching the trailer, apparently this game is a psychological horror game. Apparently it's fucking terrifying. There's nothing there. There is nothing there at all, but your mind will trick you into feeling like as if you're being watched, that you're alone, because you're in just a big, open, eerie pool. Like, you're just on your own, and your mind, because it's so photorealistic, starts fucking scaring you because you're just alone in this environment. And it made me think that all the times that I have been in a similar kind of thing, like being in the Hydra slides in Pontypool or whatever it is, and I always would think, right? Well, pretty much, sometimes it'd be really quiet. If you were, like, off from school, and my dad was like, oh, I'll take you swimming or whatever, you might be like one of the only people there. And I always used to think, and I watched Jaws a lot as a kid, that there were sharks and stuff in that water. And I'd always freak myself out, like all the time. I'd be wearing my goggles, get underwater and look around to be like, oh, no, I'm fine. And always, even though there's nothing there. And I kind of get that vibe. Now I've seen that, and I've seen like a few more trailers, I actually get this vibe. Now, I was in the door on this immediately when I saw the trailer for this because of how cool it looked, and I thought, I love these kind of experiences in VR. I love them. I really just get a kick from them like I do from Kayak VR. Now, from reading the reviews and stuff like that, I'm even more interested. Now, have you guys heard about this game before? I want to hear your thoughts on it. Phil, I'll come across to you first.
So I'd never heard of this game before it appeared in our doc, but I did watch the video and I made some notes on this. And I said, I don't know why, the trailer gave me horror vibes. So that came across to me because it seemed just strange that you would be in a pool on your own, just exploring. Now, sure, we've mentioned the graphics and they do look stunning, and water is always one of those things within a video game that is very hit or miss. If you get it right, it excels. If you get it wrong, or pretty much the majority of water in most games, it doesn't look like water. It's just one of those things. Now, this game, it looked like water. So, tick. Well done. You're in a pool. Tick. But watching that video, I was genuinely a little bit spooked by it. I was like, what is going on? Because it was just a big empty space where you shouldn't normally be. Unless, of course, you bunked off school and Davey's dad's taken you to the pool.
Yeah. It's, do you know what? It's crazy that you picked up on that. I just did not get those vibes from it. But now, like, seeing more and more, I'm like, actually, yeah, it probably will be. Like, especially like the echoing, you know, like when it's a massive empty space like that, and and you're so used to hearing just like crowd chatter and splashing and all that stuff. If there's nothing but just you wading through water, it is going to be spooky, man. It is going to be. It's going to definitely fucking get you going. I think it will.
I suppose it's a little bit like being in a shopping mall on your own. Because like a lot of zombie films are like, they end up in shopping malls, don't they? Now imagine just walking along there on your own. You would get a little spooked out. It's anywhere that is super popular generally, but you're on your own. It's going to be a bit spooky. And I think a pool is an ideal place to base a horror. And especially because you've got the drowning aspect as well. And for those who knows the Wikipedia or has been, a long-time listener of the podcast, I think that's the worst way you could die, is drowning. So yeah, shit scared of this one. I don't want to be putting on that headset. No, the water can look great, but I'm not going into the pool with you guys.
Well, it's certainly going to be one that I'll be picking up. Now, Lewis, I know you don't have PC VR or PSVR 2, but have you seen anything about this game before? And if you haven't, how does it sound to you?
So when you first started talking, you said it's a game about just looking at pools. I was like going, he likes this, but slags off people who fly in planes in Flight Simulator. It's like, you like the idea of just standing by a pool and looking at water. It's like, oh, this is a game. Flying a plane. Pfft, no, fuck that. That was my initial thought, but then you said it's a psychological horror, which is like, okay, maybe that'll be interesting. I haven't seen the trailer, but it's the concept sounds interesting, but you said that there's nothing there, but then I suppose
that's the whole point of like psychological horror sometimes, is it doesn't have to make sense. And why you're afraid doesn't always have to be like a tangible thing. Like some of the best scares in like Silent Hill, if you take it for example, are when there's nothing around. And it's just the empty streets that you're walking through the fog, and it's that fear of the unknown, and your own mind kind of fucking with you a little bit into thinking, is there something there? Something's going to happen to me, and then it won't, And it's that kind of fear, I suppose, that's kind of a bit irrational to a certain extent, is what this game is doing. And I don't know if it was intentionally supposed to do this or not, but that's how everyone is taking it. And the Steam reviews are insane. I would never expect it to be like 9 out of 10s and to have that many reviews. It's obviously done well. And I kind of like this future that PSVR 2 is finding itself in, that anything that's done well on PCVR comes over to this and then gets even more polished up and gets even better presented to the PlayStation audience. It's a nice little... It's like the PC of the test bed, that then we get the finished kind of product. And
you just get the cream. You just get the cream off the top.
We do indeed. And I'm so looking forward to this. I think anybody who's a PSVR 2 owner, have a look at this trailer. It won't be in the dock, but just type in Pools VR. Have a little look at it and see what we're talking about here. There's something here. And I'm certainly be checking this out when it does make its way over to PSVR 2 later on this year. Now, in terms of categories, that was a great one to start with, and I'm glad I didn't lose. I'm going to do one that's a little bit easier, but I don't know how much more we can go with it. And I will take two different types of answer for this, right? So my one's going to be bread, right? And what I want is you can either use brands or you can use types of bread. I'll allow both.
Oh,
okay. So it doesn't, because if you do brands, really you're going to run out super quick on breads. But if you do types of bread, there's a lot. So I think I'll accept both. All right, I'll accept both. So Lewis, you can kick us off.
Okay, Warburtons.
French.
Hovis.
Croissant.
Ciabatta.
Can't believe you let croissant go. I cannot believe you let croissant go. It's absolutely mad that you let that go. Why didn't you fight back? White bread.
Brown bread.
Naan bread.
Seeded.
I'll give it. I can't think of any bread.
Already gone.
I couldn't think.
So many.
You said
bread.
Tiger bread. What
What about a bloomer?
Yeah.
What about a bloomer, bro?
Yeah, it's true.
You go into Greg's, what do you order? I'll have a bloomer. I'll have a sliced bloomer. There's two breads there, isn't there? Just the normal bloomer and the sliced bloomer.
Sliced bread?
Whenever I listen to the podcast, I'm always going, oh, this, and this. As soon as you're under pressure, it's like, nah, fucking gone. Trust me, it's not the same when you're sat in the hot seat.
This is what our listeners and viewers think as well, Lewis. Until you're on the show, that's bad. When you start to struggle and the words bread, don't come out.
I can't believe you didn't do a call out on croissant. I would have backed you 100%. That's definitely a patisserie. That's a patisserie. It's not bread.
I agreed with the croissant being bullshit as well. I was like, oh yeah, whatever, it's fine. I felt like I already lost at that point, so I was like, all right then, fine.
What would have pissed me off, right, would be if I went like pain au chocolat and then Phil called me out on it, and I'd be like, fuck me.
That's the meta, Davey. It's all evolving. Every episode.
It is. That would have got me as well. I knew it. I fucking would have.
I'm trying to think of the posh bread that everyone likes, and I was trying to think of that.
Sourdough.
That's
sourdough,
the one.
Sourdough's lush.
That is the one. I've been thinking of sourdough the whole time, and then I couldn't think of any other breads. I'm like, ugh.
It failed you. The bread knowledge, mate. You got to get your bread game up.
I have no bread knowledge.
You got to know bands from Kerrang in the 2000s, and you got to know bread. Come on, bro.
That's why I want the PlayStation podcast to know about Kerrang and breads.
God.
Jesus Christ. I'm glad we didn't have like a duck to play against, because they love bread. And so they'd know all the different types. They get fed all types of bread. Yeah, but they love it though, don't they? It's like beer for us. It's not good for us, but we just love it. So, is what it is. The best things are always bad for you, mate. That's just the way life is. Women, they're horrific for you, but we love them. God damn, we love them. Anyway, moving on. Give me your news, Lewis.
The Baldur's Gate 3 developers believe the Grand Theft Auto 6 should charge a higher price due to inflation. What do you guys think?
So, yeah, the story itself that came from this is from Twitter, and it was from @Cromwelp, but we got this from Dextero, who tweeted it out. Basically, what they're saying is that games should be priced higher based on their quality, breadth, and depth, but note that all titles should actually cost more because of how much money goes into making them. I completely agree with this. I've been saying this a long time. I think when game price went up to 70 quid, I don't think that's far enough. I think it should go up more. Because sure, there's more ways to like monetize your content, but there's the argument there that if a game came out that is fucking ridiculous, super confident in what it's got there, I think there should be a sliding price model, and people should be able to experiment with what they think. I know we had a big debate on this before, Phil, you and me, on this topic, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think at the end of the day, something like GTA 6 could come out and charge a premium, and it could charge 100 odd quid, and people will still buy it, right? They'll buy it in fucking fuckloads. I think that this should be a thing that isn't just an RRP and there's like 3 different pricing models, that people can do what they want. And I think there's been more of that this year than I can think of in recent memory. Helldivers coming out $34.99, Concord coming out $34.99. They're not like full feature complete games in terms of like they don't have campaigns, they don't have like X, Y, and Z, and so they go down on that pricing model to be able to do that. And I think if something came out and it had a full suite, it had a massive single player game, had a full content for multiplayer, and it decided to charge more, and it was confident, it should be able to do that. And I think I suppose there's probably nothing stopping them from doing it. It's just whoever's got the balls to be able to kick it off first, right? But I agree with them. I think games are always getting prettier. They're always getting more technically advanced. And the pricing is kept the same, pretty much, other than this $10 increase, as what we were paying back in like fucking PS1. Like, it's mad. I was paying like 40 odd quid for a game, or 50 quid back then. And now I bought Astro Playroom for what, 50? I think I got it for $54.99 on Game Collection. I paid that for MGS1 back in 98. It's like, it's mad to me that they haven't gone up so much. I think we've been very protected the way we are. And if we did have it increase with inflation, it would mean that potentially some of these predatory practices that were introduced back in PS3 generation wouldn't have happened, because they wouldn't have needed to do it to be able to offset the cost of development. So I think that by not doing it, we've kind of unintentionally shot ourselves in the foot, because now we get battle passes and we get fucking season passes and all this bullshit that never had to be there before, because the cost of the game would pay back development. So I think but now the genie's out of the bottle. So you'll get both. You'll get fucking battle pass and it'd be 90 quid. So it'd be shit now, but that's my rant over anyway. Phil, I know you're probably dying for a retort here, so lay it on me.
I love it when you go first and I disagree.
Yeah.
Because you try and cover off every avenue.
I do.
So I literally have got nothing to say because you try and cover everything off. But the point I want to make is, when has a sliding price model ever been good for the consumer? Now, we've seen recently in the UK, Oasis have just reformed. The brothers have got back together. They've kissed and made up and done everything else, and they're going to be going on tour. They've released a bunch of tickets from around the UK and Ireland, I believe, and they've put their tickets up on Ticketmaster. And I can't imagine they made this decision, but their management went down the sliding price model, which means that the more demand, the higher the price. And this is what Davey wants to go for. Rich man Davey over there, sitting on his throne. He wants the sliding price model for video games where they can nickel and dime us further and further and further into our overdrafts. Now the real man here, the everyman, I'm standing up for you. I do not want this. I do not want increases when it comes to games. Now, I believe GTA 6 will fall in line with current standards. I think a AAA at the moment, the most you can charge is your £70, your $69.99 in the UK. And I believe GTA 6 will sit at this and queue up the Phil Was Right song when it releases. Of course, you've got your collector's editions, your special editions, your digital extra editions. You've got your editions where you don't even get the game, but you get some fucking model that no one really wants. And that's another way that they've created now, which you come to expect, which is an industry standard, where they can charge us more. They can charge upwards of £200, £300, even £400 for a video game. So this sliding price model kind of exists, but you get something extra. And I'm fine with that. But the base model of the game, at the moment, if it's higher than £70, I'd fall off my chair when they release it, when GTA 6 comes out.
Well, before I retort, which, of course I will, Lewis, I'd love your thoughts on this too.
So I didn't really realise Davey was a Tory. I didn't actually realise that at the time.
Tory.
He's been caught out.
No, I don't. I can see what Davey's saying in part, but then you also have to realise that these big corporations are going to go, oh yeah, we'll put the price up, but we'll just remove all this other stuff that's giving us money. That's not going to happen. They're going to charge you more and put all the extra shit on it because they just want more money from you. That's how it works. Also, digital distribution has become more and more of a thing, so there's less discs being made in cases. You don't have to worry about physical brick and mortar stores. I feel like these big companies are going to just abuse it if they go, oh yeah, we can charge £100 for a game now. I think they're the ones who are going to take advantage of it. It's not going to be good for the indies or anything like that, I don't think. And then also we've seen recently, the game we all said was great, Concord, was charged £40. No one was willing to pay that much money for it anymore because they're all used to this free-to-play model, which I hate free-to-play. I'm just putting that out there. But that's the reason Concord failed, is because they charged £40 for it. And people wanted
Save it for the topic. Game. Save it for the topic, Lewis. You're showing your cards far too early, mate. Yeah, we want people to listen to the end of the show.
But yeah, personally, I don't like the idea of charging more. I feel like the problem is that there's ballooning in development costs, which is a pain in the ass. But really, they should just try and rein it in a bit. I think that's what they need to do. I think we need to start making more AA type games. You don't need 100 God of War type games coming out every year. You can have one big game like that, maybe like a tentpole, where you put loads and loads of money into development. But you don't need to put games like Black Myth Wukong, I believe, were made by a much smaller team and has been super successful. And you say when we're Helldivers, that's a smaller team as well. You can make games at a cheaper point. You don't need to increase the price. I don't think that's necessary. Okay,
Lewis. Now, which side of the fence are you going to sit on? Are you siding with Rich man Davey over there on his throne, who wants to pay more money for video games, or do you want to side with the everyman? That is happy to stretch to the £70 for those bigger experiences.
Oh, power to the people, of course. Rich man Tory Davey over there. On his throne.
I love that you're now a Tory. Brilliant. Wears a red t-shirt and it's just cover.
So, if you guys are done, I'll shut down both your fucking arguments straight away, right? So, here we go. First off, in terms of a sliding price model, you say, when has that ever been a thing? It's the thing in every single fucking market ever. You don't look at headphones, and headphones are all one price. And they're not. You look at headphones, and you have some that are thousands of pounds, and some which are like pennies, right? And the difference is quality. You don't go out and then you'd be like, every headphone needs to be $9.99 because it's affordable for the public. No. You have some which are made and are studio quality and are incredibly, really fucking good, and you pay a premium for those. Not everyone can afford them, but that's what they are. And other times, you get some that are shit that you buy from Asda and they last you a week. Same with cars, same with fashion, same with holidays, same with every single thing.
You're taking it far too much away from the context here. Let's cut it down. Let's think about digital media. So think of things like DVDs, think of things like CDs, think of things like videotapes. Generally, they're all books can be different, okay, because there's different materials that go into it, okay? But with a video game, generally it's on the same disc that you get every other video game on, okay? So it's the same thing they're actually providing you, okay? So let's think on that level. You know, most things in the past would stay around the same price. There's going to be small frequencies, okay, but not as great as you're saying the headphones for £1,000 for the $299 ones.
Why?
Because they're dramatically different materials that are going into that.
But so is the game development. You can't say that something like GTA 6, which is going to be like, and sure, it's going to have fucking ridiculous money spent on it because the team can put that money in because they know they're going to get the recovery on this. Is going to be the best-selling game ever. We all know that, right? So they can put a stupid amount of money behind that. But then they could also, at the same time, because they're putting so much investment down and they're confident, they all buy it. And this is where I'm going to shut down Lewis's argument. Because he was saying about...
One more before you move on. How much was it to go and see Alien Romulus with your father?
Like, I don't know, £10 or whatever for a ticket.
How much was it to go and see Dragon Ball Evolution?
£10. But I could have paid to go to a better seat, couldn't I? And I could have paid more, and that's a sliding scale. So if you want to sit at the
Collector's
front,
edition,
you get it cheaper.
Special edition, digital edition.
So you could get it cheaper, and there's different cinemas have different prices. So if I want to go to the Everyman Theatre, I'll pay £30 a ticket there, but I get a different experience. I get a more premium experience. I get better comfy seats. There's less people in the cinema. I get a nice little rug that I can put over me and catch up with my loved one on a sofa. There's all these things do have different things. It's not an RRP which is set for every single industry. It's ridiculous. It's not the way the world works, except for here for some reason.
I mean, so would you pay more money to get Avengers Endgame on Blu-ray over like any other Blu-rays or Doom 2 or anything like that because they had higher development costs when they made those films? I mean, it's the same logic as the cinema ticket. It's like you pay, like as you said, it's the same disc with the same principles. It's a film. All Blu-ray films are essentially the same price or more or less. It's the same logic as Phil was saying. And then with GTA, I just wanted to say before we go into a rant about GTA, GTA 5 is one of the most successful games of all time, made record profits. They're already going to make massive profits from this game if they sell it at a normal price. Plus they have shark cards, which are, again, microtransactions, which they're added to the game anyway, which they will charge more people for. So I don't think they're strapped for cash, Rockstar. So I think they should stick to charging the normal price for a game.
All they need to do is release another YouTube video. Because have you seen how many views they got on there?
Madness.
Damn! Just release more trailers. Don't release the game. There's no point.
Going back to this, and this will be the final point I make. And I'm not saying that everyone should agree with me or not. I think this is where it's a good little debate to have. Is that when it comes to your Concord point, Lewis, and you said people refuse to pay it. This is where my sliding argument comes in, because it will keep people in check and keep companies in check, because all it takes is, say, a Ubisoft comes out with Assassin's Creed they're really, really confident for, and they say, yeah, this is feature complete, it's got multiplayer, it's got blah, 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 we're going to charge 90 quid for this, and nobody fucking buys it. Nobody buys it because they're not willing to pay that. So then the price will fall and they realize they can't do that shit. It is a demand thing, right? Like, it won't work like for everyone. Not everyone will be able to push the needle up to that extent. And Concord have learned that the hard way. So this is where the sliding model would exactly work this way because they put it out for a premium. Nobody buys it. It gets reduced down. Then people buy it. It's exactly the same way it kind of works now. You'll see Suicide Squad come out for 70 quid. Nobody fucking buys it. 2 weeks later on Asda, you can get it for $24.99. And then people start picking it up. It's just the way it works now, but it just means that game companies will be able to have a little bit more flexibility in the way they price their products. And if they're fully confident in it, they have to then take that gamble. If they want to pass that on to the consumer, and the consumer's willing to pay it, what's the problem? Whereas if they're not, everyone will vote with their wallets like they have done with Concord, and then they have to eat shit. And that's the way it works right now. It is just the way it works now.
Well, my argument wasn't against the idea of a sliding scale. It was the idea of paying over £70 for a game. I don't mind them charging less money to the consumer because that's good for the consumer. But charging more money when they're already making record profits and already nickel and diming us, that's the issue I have. So I don't mind the sliding scale of cheaper games. I mean, bring on the cheaper games. That's great. Just don't charge us more than 70 quid because that's a lot of money to a lot of people. Especially in a crisis of financial crisis, people are struggling to pay their bills at the moment. They can't afford to pay £70 for every single game, and maybe £80 or £100. It's a lot of money.
I'm not saying it's not, but at the same time, you don't have to get everything. And you don't have to get everything brand new. And I feel like it just gives game companies the ability that if they want to put that investment into a game, they don't have to think, fuck, we got to sell this many units. They can think, right, well, we're going to do what technology does, for example, and they can just put it out. It goes at a premium. They put it out there. Early adopters get it. And then if the mass public are happy to pay that, great. It does fucking amazing for them. It does amazing. Whereas for some of these smaller games that do come out, and they may put fucking loads of resources in to try and get it. Because like you were saying about, I agree with you, that game companies should stop doing so much and bloating because there's so much bloat. Like Final Fantasy VII Part 2 is a prime victim of something that's just bloat. There's so much content in there that shouldn't need to be there, that doesn't enhance the game, and just would have racked up cost for development for no fucking reason, no kind of payoff, but they just felt it had to be there. I agree with you that things should tone down, but realistically, everything wants to be the shiny. Everything wants to be that best looking thing. Everyone wants to have the best looking cinematics, the best gameplay, the best everything there. They want it to be the best. And I think sometimes if they're going to have, you think how much it's going to cost them now to go to like PS6 or PS5 Pro, these things is continuing to rise. Technology is just increasing so much that they have to put more and more cost in. And I don't think it's tenable. And one of the downsides to that, and one of the things that's been a real concern, which has hit the games industry over this last year, which everyone's quick to bitch about, mind you, is the amount of layoffs that happen. So you can't have it be just all about the consumer, because at the end of the day, one miss and people lose their jobs. And that shouldn't be the case. It should be a case that people should be able to explore this space a little bit more. But we've gone long enough on this. And I do appreciate it's a very divisive topic, and that's what makes it a good thing to talk about on a podcast. Listeners, I would love your writings on this. Let us know which side of the argument you come down on, because I think it's very, very multi-pronged. But, Lewis, it's your turn to raise a category, my friend.
We had a couple of ideas. What do I want to go with? Let's go with MCU movies.
Thor.
Thor 2.
Thor Ragnarok.
Avengers.
Thor Blood and Thunder.
I think that's not what it's called, but okay. Avengers Endgame.
Oh, thank God he answered. Oh.
Black Widow.
Winter Soldier.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Captain Marvel.
Ant-Man Quantumania.
X-Men.
It's not an MCU movie, my friend. It's not an MCU movie. You're backing me up on this, Lewis. It's not an MCU movie, mate. They're not in the MCU yet. You know, they're not.
Well,
They're not.
Surely they are.
No, but
they're not. Yes, they're not, are they? You wouldn't say, you go on Disney Plus, you go onto the MCU.
X-Men's in there.
X-Men 97's in there.
technically-
The rest of it's the Fox universe, my friend. It's not in the MCU timeline.
Deadpool connected them.
That's not an X-Men. Was it called X-Men? I think it was.
But they're different worlds. They're different worlds still.
Battleworld's happening.
It's not the MCU yet.
Robert
It's not-
Downey Jr. is pushing them all together, mate. So it's all the same thing these days.
Not yet. They're not in the MCU yet.
It's-
That's why when the X-Men...
Oh, it's
Well,
hard.
Lewis, you can flip the coin if you want.
They're not in the MCU.
Fuck. People are going to be mad at me in the comments for this one, I think. It's such a hard choice. Because technically in Deadpool, they do kind of merge them.
Was that called X-Men?
Well, it's the X-Men universe.
So you're saying that because Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, those were MCU movies, were they? No, they weren't. They were Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. No,
Well, they're not DC, mate, so they must be Marvel.
they're just Marvel films. But this is the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Fuck, I
Which that is not
regret
part
this
of.
category. I regret this category.
Fine, I'll take the L on this one. Whatever. We all know Lewis is going to lose.
I
Yeah,
reckon you're going to
probably.
win, Lewis. I reckon you're going to win.
No, he's right. Yeah, let me have this one, Phil. Just let me have this one.
Quick news, guys. Now, I've got an exclusive for you. So, PlayStation will be getting more than 1,300 retro games on September 6th. Okay? We're offering through Antstream Arcade. PlayStation users will be able to purchase a subscription or pay a one-time fee for lifetime access. Now, guys, I've done a little bit of research on Antstream. Now, this was founded in 2000, which is 24 years ago. Yes, we are very, very old. And Antstream Arcade is the world's largest official library of retro games to stream, with more than 1,300 titles, as I said, which are available to play on multiple devices, including PC, mobile, Samsung TVs. I believe it's over on Xbox, as Lewis keeps shaking his pad and trying to put me off when I'm reading my words. Linux and Xbox. Now, it launches September 6th. PS4 and PS5. The subscription will be $39.99 per year, or you can have the lifetime fee of $99.99. And this is the first ever, guys, third-party cloud gaming service available on Sony. Now, I want to throw it over to you. And Lewis, I'm going to come to you first. Are you interested in Antstream? Have you ever heard of Antstream? Do you have it over on the Xbox? And is it worth getting?
Yes, I have it on the Xbox already. It's a really good service. Played a lot of Space Invaders on it. It's like my favorite thing for Space Invaders. It's got Pac-Man on there. It's got what other good stuff? It's got like Galaga. It's got some really good games on there. I really enjoy it. It's a really fun service. I've paid for the year subscription on the Xbox version. It's a great service to have. As you said, that the only issue is it is cloud streaming. If you have not the best internet, it can be a little laggy. And even if you're playing games like Space Invaders, which are like retro games, it can still have a little bit of lag. But it also has stuff like challenge modes and achievements, and there's like multiplayer modes and stuff like that. Like you can challenge your friends to high scores. It's a lot of fun. I really recommend the service. I've played it quite a lot, actually. I'm very happy that it's coming to PlayStation because I've been enjoying it on my Xbox for about a year now, and it's a really good service. I don't know what else to say. Like, it's got like Metal Slug on it. It's got I'm trying to remember some of the games, but yeah, I love it. It's a really good service. I love retro games, and it's a really good service for retro games. So highly recommend it. If you're a retro fan, I recommend checking it out. It's a really good service.
I do wonder, and maybe Lewis, you can fill in the gaps on this one, seeing as you're already a subscriber, but does that service allow you to then use it on other platforms? So if you are an Xbox subscriber, could you then use the service on your Samsung TV, or, for example, on the PS5 come September 6th? And if you haven't got the answer, that's fine. We can speculate about that within the comments, and if anyone's got the actual facts, please let us know. But I'm just interested to know, because $39.99 per year probably isn't going to work for me, but the £100 for the lifetime, if that's available across all the platforms, that seems like a deal.
I don't think it is available across all the platforms. That's the issue. I have it on the Xbox. I've been trying to get it on my PC, and I don't think the PC, at least as far when I first got it, the PC didn't have the lifetime option. So I'm not 100% sure. I think it is literally paying for the one service, which is unfortunate. Because I would love to be able to pop over to my PlayStation and play some games on there as well, because I've already paid for the yearly subscription. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's stuck to each system, unfortunately. But I'm not 100% on that.
Fair enough. Now, Davey, as you know, I'm a big ROM guy. I download a lot of these games and play them on my Ambernic devices. And I'm always taking a little console away when I'm traveling. And it's nice just to whip it out and play one of these, little mini games of the past and just reminisce a little bit. Now, does this pricing model and Antstream coming to PlayStation entice you to maybe want to play some of these games over on your PlayStation 5?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not a bad price for that lifetime, is it? It's $79.99 here in the UK. And I've gone on while you guys have been chatting, I've gone on to their website and had a look at the game library. And there's some systems that are better depicted here than others. The PlayStation 1, for example, only got 12 games, and nothing really of major note. There's Worms Armageddon, which I loved, and Hogs of War's pretty good, but the rest of them are, who's going to play Premier Manager 98? You know? Like, who the fuck's going to play that? But some of the other systems, especially the old ones, like the mega old ones before my time in gaming, like the C64, Atari 7800s, 2600, those are way before my time, right? Like way before. And I can't imagine some of these systems, fucking Amstrad, 42 games. Like, these are proper old, especially for us in Britain. You know, having an Amstrad on Ready Access is cool. The issue I found, even just going back and playing an MSX game, is most of these games fucking suck, dude. Like, they suck. And that's the problem. You got the ones that are classics, like Asteroids, Pac-Man, shit like that. Tetris, they go on forever, right? They live in perpetuity because they're just fucking really well made. The majority of these games, I guarantee you, and I'm speaking from ignorance because I haven't played them, I guarantee you, if you go back and play a fucking Prelude to Chaos on Amstrad, it's probably going to be shit, right?
What a game to pick.
It's just the first one on the Amstrad list. It's probably going to be shit. Because, I've been playing Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2. And I love Metal Gear Solid. They're gash. They're not very good. They're fucking hard to play. They just do not hold up. I don't know if I would pay this. I don't think I would pay 80 quid for this. Because even if they're adding 1,355 games currently, 2 games each week, those 2 games, even for the rest of my life, I doubt there's going to be anything in there that I'm desperate to play. You know, I really don't.
Yeah.
And the fact is that all these systems are mapped out on ROMs everywhere. So you could just get them. And I know that's not nice, and you should support developers and blah, 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 blah. And I'm always saying that kind of shit. But I think this is nice for those that really need it. And if you were doing a YouTube channel or something like that and you needed access to retro games, this is a perfect option for that. For any member of Joe Public, I can't see a reason for this. I'm not going to pay 80 quid so I can play Frisky Tom on the Atari 5200. I'm just not going to. I'm just not. And I'd rather spend my 80 quid somewhere else.
Fair enough, guys. But there's kind of a 2-part to this one, and I mentioned it, that this is the first third-party cloud gaming service on Sony. Now, I want to come back round and ask you guys, does Antstream coming to PlayStation open the door for more third-party cloud gaming services? Could you imagine a future where we get Steam or Epic or good old games coming to PlayStation? Could that happen, Lewis?
Well, the rumors are that the next Xbox is going to have Steam and Epic integration. That is the rumor going around at the moment. But I don't see Sony doing it because they're winning the console race at the moment. And why would they?
He said it. He said it. I mean, An Xbox guy said it. Clip it. Everyone clip that right now.
It's factual.
Get it all over.
But they're not going to. They don't want to give up their 30% of all games sold on their system. So I can't see it, to be honest. I mean, if they sold each retro game separately, I don't know if Sony would actually have it on their service. But the fact is, it's a subscription, a yearly subscription. I think that might be why it's there. I can't see them having another storefront on there, for example. I can't see it happening.
There's a reason why the PS1 library is so shit on there. And it's because all of them are on PlayStation directly through Premium. So it's fuck am I going to play Hogs of War? Jesus Christ, I bet that doesn't fucking hold up. I remember that game. I remember renting that from the local fuel garage, Washbournes in Caldecott. Mum bringing me back Hogs of War, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to play this. I didn't rent it again. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way.
Slaps.
I remember being all right. But no, I gotta agree with Lewis here. I mean, there's already a number of different third party subscription methods on PlayStation already, with like EA Play and Ubisoft. They have their own ones, right? And so you can play their games discounted through there, or you get either discounts or you get them included free as part of that. Now, PlayStation luckily included they put like the Ubisoft offering as part of PlayStation Plus, so it's in there already. So that's why we got access to all the Assassin's Creeds and all those things. But these kind of things do already exist. I don't think this is really blowing the doors off. And it certainly isn't going to lead to a situation where we got like Epic or anything like that on there. Because as you said, Lewis, why would you want to lose out on that revenue? It makes no sense whatsoever. There's no reason to do it. And Xbox, at this point, they can't make any more fucking dumbass business decisions. And I think really putting like fucking Steam and shit like that on your Xbox, that's another way to just fucking fuck yourself over. I don't get it. Like, why would you do it? Like, it's just another idea just to fucking ruin your own image and your own brand. I don't understand. But it's pro-consumer, and that's worked out well for them. So, yeah, let's keep those going. But no, I don't think it does, Phil. I don't know about you. Don't know about your opinion on this, Phil. Does this open the floodgates now?
I'm going to be pretty much the same as you on this one, Davey. I don't believe it really changes anything or really pushes the needle in any way. It's not really a service. As much as I said, you know, the sort of $100 for the lifetime subscription seems kind of interesting, but at the same time, all these kind of games are sort of readily available because a lot of them are sort of like in the public realm, so you are available to download them online, and of course, some of them might just end up on the Pirate Bay, so it's easy enough to get hold of. So unfortunately, I think it's a bit of a miss for me on this one, but interesting nonetheless. Now, guys, I'm going to come back round, and my category, or my final category of tonight, is going to be currencies. And before you start, they can be current currencies, or they can be currencies of the past.
Thank God. That gives a few more.
Over to you first, Davey.
All right, let's go for an easy one. British pound, pound sterling.
Yen.
The euro.
The US dollar.
The Australian dollar.
The Czech koruna.
Hong Kong dollar.
The Canadian dollar.
Peso.
Euros.
Said it.
Have you said euros, have you?
Yeah. I said euros.
Oh, I didn't hear you say euros.
Yes.
I thought you went...
I said the euro.
I had none left as well. I was like, shit.
I was saving things like francs and all those for later on.
Go down all the euro ones. I said peso.
Oh,
yeah,
I would have been fucked either way.
Oh, I didn't hear you say euro. Oh,
I thought I was dead. I was dead in the water then. Shit.
Damn it.
You know, like the Deutschmark, we could have gone down that route.
Yeah, I was saving all those for the deeper cuts. I thought I'll start eliminating all the easy ones first.
And you work in the financial industry, you should be used to all the currencies.
I must have just not been listening to you, my friend. That's all it is. That's my apologies. I take that L on that. I'll take that L.
What episode are we on? 98? You need to start listening to me, Davey. Like, some of the things I say, you know, are right.
Phil was right. Yeah, Phil was right. We should have had this jingle, mate. If we had this jingle, it would have got used at least 4 times already today. Quick news. So I got a really, really cool piece of news here, and I found this really, really interesting. So Remedy, who, of course, the makers of Control, Alan Wake, they have partnered with Annapurna, one of my favorite publishers, to bring a co-financing agreement to Control 2. Now, this isn't just a case of Control 2, the game that is in development, and we're going to hear something about that, I'm sure, in probably next year, I imagine. It's not just that. What this is, for Annapurna to co-finance Control, they also, as part of this deal, to be able to secure that finance agreement, they got the agreement for Annapurna to be able to make movie and TV content for Alan Wake and the Control universe. So it means that Alan Wake could very well be coming to a TV screen or a film thanks to Annapurna. And I find that really interesting. I've never known there be a publishing deal, co-financing deal, which isn't just the game itself and the game's profits. It's then going into giving them the rights to be able to publish wider works that into other media from this. So we could be seeing Alan Wake comics or Control comics or books or whatever it is, all thanks to Annapurna. And I find that really, really interesting. Now, this is what Remedy's statement came out. So they said, Remedy is thrilled as finished people can be, to announce that we are working together with Annapurna, who are co-financing the development of Control 2 and taking the Control and Alan Wake franchises to film, TV, and beyond. So what does this mean for you, our dear fans? Above all, it means Remedy is able to make Control 2 exactly the game we want it to be, while we now also have an incredible partner to extend our IPs to other mediums. We are also going to be publishing Control 2 ourselves. When I look at all the games we have in the pipeline, the future Remedy is incredibly exciting. You can trust us to keep bringing you incredible video game experiences. Lovely bit of news. I think that's just an excellent pairing, and I'm really looking forward to see what they got cooking in the future. What about yourself, Mr. Hoy? I know you're not a massive fan of Remedy. I don't think you've ever played really any of their games, maybe outside of the first kind of Max Payne's that they developed. How does this news sound to you?
Match made in heaven, right? You seem to be very positive on this news, and it's no wonder it's highlighted in blue within our document, because this has your name literally all over it. It's the two studios that you are very, very pro on working together. So what could possibly go wrong with this? Jesus Christ. It's obviously going to work out so well for both of them, isn't it? Now, Control 2, I haven't even played the first one, but them getting on board with that, it's only going to be a positive, isn't it? Now, I'm saying it with slight sarcasm, because I'm not so sure that, involving other studios is always the best sort of play. You want to keep your cards close to your chest, and these studios have been working on some big successful titles, and it feels like Control seems to be getting a little bit pushed, behind the settee, and Annapurna are getting a little bit involved with it, where actually it probably would have been nicer if Remedy have just put their full weight behind it and really pushed that medium forward. Now, Davey, as I said, you're big on both of these, but the thing that worries me with this even further than basically giving one of your lesser IPs to another studio is the film and TV part of it. I'm not sure I can get hype on that at all, because as we know, as soon as you start to translate video games into film and TV, it is very, very hit or miss. You can count on one hand, even folding down a thumb, of the number of successful film and TV adaptations of video games. So all I can say is good luck, and I can imagine this will be amazing.
I really hope so. I mean, the publishing, the co-financing deal is exactly what they did for Alan Wake 2 with Epic. So it's exactly the same for that, where they had full creative control over the game. So I don't think Control 2 is not going to be affected by this. The thing that you're quite rightly raising is losing kind of control of your IP and allowing Annapurna to do that for TV and film. Now, the only good thing about this is Annapurna have got a really, really good track record when it comes to looking after their own IP management and looking after studios that do work with them. I think of the most recent example for me that springs to mind is, of course, Stray. That was published by Annapurna. Absolute seal of quality. Got into our Game of the Year discussions on the year of its release. I hoping for the best here. As you said, I think Alan Wake or Control, it's already its own universe. They tie into each other. It is like a kind of MCU situation, right? That they do, both of them cross over and tie in, and Control's DLC was Alan Wake, and etc. and so on.
Well, one's like X-Men and one's like the Avengers. They're both kind of the same universe, and they're going to tie in the future, aren't they? Eventually,
yeah. Eventually they will. But yeah, very, very much this is made by the same studio, and so it's totally different thing. But what's going to be interesting is if they put Alan Wake and the Control into a TV, it will work. If they put it into a film, it's going to be shit. There's no way. Those games are confusing as hell on their own. You need like an 8 hour kind of experience that a TV show offers. And the TV shows have been cooking lately. You look at Fallout, you look at Fallout and The Last of Us, right, for as prime kind of examples. Whereas on the movie side, you got Borderlands. So stick away from fucking film, guys. Stick away from film. Keep it onto a TV series, please, God. What about yourself, Lewis? Have you got any interest in this news, or how do you find it?
It's a bit strange because really Control and Alan Wake essentially are movies. Like, essentially they're interactive movies as they are, like, essentially. They're very cinematic. They take a lot of influence from film. Like, Alan Wake is essentially just Twin Peaks, isn't it? Like, let's just be fair. Control is very similar to like the X-Files and those type of things. I really enjoy Control. I haven't finished Alan Wake 2, but I've heard like it's up for Game of the Year and stuff like that. I think you could make a TV show out of it, but as I said, it feels like they're copying a TV show and then they're going to copy the game into a TV show. So it's a bit
very
weird.
Meta. Very Inception, isn't it?
It's essentially like they might as well just make another Twin Peaks at this point if they're just going to make if they're going to make an Alan Wake TV show, essentially, because it is just Twin Peaks. That's literally all it is. I'd be interested in watching it though if it was good. I mean, I know you were saying about films, maybe not a film because like the Minecraft trailer just came out and that looks bloody awful, and Borderlands was awful, but we did have The Last of Us TV show, which I've heard is really good, and I really enjoyed the Fallout TV show. So maybe if it was a TV show, it might be good. I don't know. Just don't make a film, as you said, because track record for films has not been great when it comes to video games.
TV seems to hit the nail on the head, unless it's the game which can't be mentioned, which even as a TV show was average at best. Wasn't the worst. Better than the films. No. A lot of the films, but
the last film.
Oh god, that last one was horrific. God, I can't wait till we cover that on
Jill Sandwich and all that. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
The Monster Hunter film made by the same people who made the game that can't be mentioned, original films as well. Oh my god.
Well, what are they thinking? Right, best to move this on, I think. Best to move this on. But well done. A great little partnership. I look forward to seeing what comes out of this in the future. So, in terms of my category, we did Bread last time, which of course was an absolute hit, a wonder. See what I did there? Wonder Bread, get that? Let's do superpowers. So, not characters, powers. And they're going to be real superpowers.
Real?
You know what I mean? Like, if questioned, you could point to an example.
Real.
Like good looks. That's my superpower. Or intelligence. I mean, intelligence probably is.
Intelligence probably one. But no, what I mean is, like, if somebody said, like, oh, I don't know, super hearing, and somebody said, bullshit, super hearing is not a thing, it could be like,
and they go,
Daredevil. no, they can say Daredevil. Like, you couldn't be like, oh, it's the ability to make toast. Because that would be a superpower, but then it's, where the fuck have you seen that? And they'd have to come out, oh, Toast Man. And then, if that got called out,
we'd have to Google it.
Yeah.
Because you're never sure when it comes to this type of stuff.
No, there's so many in that.
So many.
yeah, exactly. So that's where we're going for this. So we'll kick this off. Heat vision.
Super speed.
Magnetism.
Flight.
Super strength.
Teleportation.
Healing.
Telekinesis.
Invisibility.
Ability to control your bones.
Magnetism.
Oh, we said magnetism.
Oh, shit. Really? Okay. Fuck.
Control your bones.
Yeah, Marrow. Do you remember Marrow from the X-Men?
No, and I love X-Men.
She was
in
that
MCU movie.
No. She was in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 as well. Yeah, she's like a woman. She's a woman.
Okay, she is a woman.
Or reddish gingery hair, and she can like sprout bones out of like her body and like use them to fight.
So a bit like Wolverine then.
Yeah, Marrow. Search Marrow, bro. She's class.
Oh, yeah. No, I do recognize her. Because there's a similar character called Spike, isn't there?
Oh, I don't know.
In one of the more modern X-Men adaptations.
Isn't Wolverine's brother shoot like bones out of his hand? I can't remember his name now.
I don't know. It's probably just in one of those Fox movies, and they just changed the mutant like they were always doing for the side ones. Like that guy is like a porcupine guy, and for some reason he's talking. That film, fucking ass in X-Men, the third one, and he's talking shit to like Magneto, and he's like, "Who's this guy?" And his only power is sprouting fucking spikes out of his face, right? That's his power. And he's talking shit and this woman's like, he's an Omega level mutant. And he's like, I am. And it's like, this guy's fucking not even like a fucking C-grade mutant. Like, his only kill in the movie is where he goes up to somebody, hugs them, and then spikes up. It's like, your power's shit, dude. Your power's shit. Don't talk to a fucking Omega-level mutant over there. Fuck. Shouldn't even be in his fucking company. You should be cleaning the toilets, bro. Your power's gash. Favorite MCU film. Terrible. Right. Next one then, Lewis. Over to you.
Rumours are that the Helldivers 2 are getting a new faction. The Illuminates, which were in Helldivers 1. There's been a couple of leaks. People have noticed these glitches and mistakes in the game, but the developers have said that these are mistakes and bugs. Is this a clever marketing technique? What do you guys think?
Do you go first, Phil?
Sure, I'll take this one, seeing as I work in marketing. Now, from my point of view, I'm always very skeptical when things get leaked, especially when it's like a current game. You know, it's a game where they know something's coming up. There's a bit of a buzz about it, and obviously people are not dropping off because it's still the second most played game on Steam in the US at the moment. It's still a very popular game, but I would say in general they haven't had the amount of buzz around Helldivers for a little bit of time, because they've been releasing kind of little packs of weapons, and they did a recent update where they added a couple of new monsters to both of the races. But as we were talking on a previous podcast, we want vehicles. We were talking about the buggies, and we were waiting to jump back in. And for the last couple of weeks, I don't think we've been into Helldivers at all, any of us. So doing something like this definitely gets people talking. It's got us talking on the podcast about the new race, and that has been something that has been anticipated now for a very long time. I would have said longer than I would have thought it would have taken them to even hint at this type of thing. So I'm skeptical, but actually I think they did it on purpose. I think they kind of just nudged it a little bit and said, we'll put it out. Let's get people talking. Let's create that buzz. Let's get on the PlayStation podcast. Let's get on the PlayStation podcast for the UK, the biggest UK PlayStation podcast. That's In PS We Trust. Get them talking about it. Get their 40 fans that actually listen, the 250 odd subscribers, and get them interested in what's going on Helldivers 2. We're going to light up Discord. We're going to light up the PlayStation podcast, PlayStation-podcast.co.uk blog, because this news is going to be huge. We cannot wait for the next iteration and addition to Helldivers 2, because we love the game and we just need an excuse to jump back in. So it's either got to be the buggies or it's got to be this new race. That's my point of view. How about yourself, Davey?
Well, love it, mate. Yeah. Do you know what? Speaking of buggies, I think before I would have totally agreed with you, and I think it would have been legit. I think it would have been they did this on purpose just to get people more interested and get more eyes on. But I think actually the buggies ties into why I don't think that's the case. Because we have not seen those buggies for months. And those initial kind of leaks and those kind of like, whatever it was, why they were appearing in people's games, that's never come to anything so far. And that was like fucking 7 months ago. So it's just, now I think, yeah, it's just a fuck up. This is just a total fuck up. And everyone knows the Illuminates are coming, right? Because they are the third army in Helldivers 1. Lewis, we took you into Helldivers 1, me and Spence the other day, played against the Illuminates, right? Like, we've seen what this army can do, and they're class, they're great. Really looking forward to them coming in. They are going to arrive, 100% they are. I can imagine seeing them before the end of the year, but I think this was just a genuine mistake. And I think it's had the unintentional consequence of probably getting people a little bit anticipated for something big. Now, on the Helldivers 2 website, and they got like they're always on Steam and stuff like that in different forums, the devs are, and they were talking about how there's a massive balance patch coming out on the 17th of September. And what they've done on that is they've gone back and they've rebalanced every single item in the game to make it more fun. So to put fun back into it, so to make sure that there's a huge separation between different weapons so that people can have more fun and find new, unique loadouts, because they feel that it was just getting too meta and too bouncy. And the original Helldivers is so good because it's kind of a bit of a clusterfuck, because there's things that completely busted and things that aren't. And it just kind of works, and you can kind of make your own kind of class out of having all these different kind of broken things that probably shouldn't work the way they do, right? Like, there's a weapon called the Scythe in that, which same as it is in Helldivers 2. But Helldivers 2 is shit Whereas in Helldivers 1, it's fucking so OP. It's insane. But then loads of weapons are OP. So it means that you can just play however you want to play it. And I think this shouldn't have happened now. It shouldn't have happened here. I think they're going to get a lot of people back on the 17th. And then you need to start drumming up the Illuminates. Start seeing a couple of dead bodies here and there, or the odd enemy here or there, and have that kind of like that viral marketing, like they were doing with before the mechs came out. And you could see some people had mechs in their games randomly, like what the fuck? And there's mechs here, and that kind of thing. They just start filtering that kind of thing in, rather than just having it appear on the map and then disappear. I don't think that's enough.
So as much as you say Arrowhead don't miss, you think on a couple of occasions now, they've just fucked up and released code to Sony, which includes bugs. And as we know, because we were talking again on Concord the other night, where we were saying, why don't they just release a patch and give everyone the platinum? And we kind of came to the conclusion that actually to release a patch on PlayStation costs money. So that's why they went against it. So you think Arrowhead, the big chief up top, he sat there, counting his money, sniffing it. Oh, this is beautiful. I want to get rid of this.
No, what they're doing is, the issue with Helldivers, as we all know, is it is anything but a unbuggy experience. It's totally fucked most of the time. Like, the most recent patch they did for Fire, fucked Fire. It made Fire not work. So that's why they've had to go back and rebalance everything. So there's patches all the time, because all that will happen is that they had a patch just now recently, the Bile Titans just didn't take damage.
Christ.
So it's like they put in stuff
Arrowhead
out.
do miss.
They put stuff out and it
They
just fucks the game. It fucks the game. And so they're constantly having to patch it because they're a small team. They're fucking stuff up, right? It just happens. And so
they're fucking shit up.
They are. And as much as they make some things like fucking great and it will really work, and then you have the other issue, like at the moment, like Spencer was complaining about the fact that the new enemy was just constantly bashing him around the map continuously. That's a bug. It's a bug. It shouldn't happen like that. So they've fixed that now. So there's a patch every time you put on your PlayStation. There's Helldivers is being updated all the time. I can definitely see them an accidental bit of code going in there and fucking something else, because they're fucking something up all the time. And it doesn't ruin the game. The game's class. But that's just the reality of developing a live service game, I guess. It with so many moving little pieces, so much intricacy, things are going to go wrong. And Helldivers 2, it's always going wrong. And that's kind of the charm for the game. So, yeah, I think this isn't intentional, but I like to see it. I like these little breadcrumbs, and I do hope it was intentional, but I think it's giving them a little bit too much credit over there in Arrowhead, even though I still stand by it. They don't fucking miss. 2 games, 2 bangers, bro. Don't miss. But Lewis, don't know about your thoughts, especially after we saw the Illuminates firsthand the other day. You're battle-hardened by them, by those sniper units. Are you thinking this was a clever bit of marketing?
See, I did think it was a clever bit of marketing, but I've questioned it now after your discussion. It was a very interesting discussion between you two. Yeah, I mean, it does seem a bit convenient to have, oh, oops, I'm just going to leave this piece of paper here that tells you everything. Oh, I mean, it kind of had that kind of feel to it, like, it kind of just felt like, it was convenient. The thing they wanted to show was the thing that they showed by mistake. So I mean, it's not like they glitched something, like showing like confidential stuff that's like going to like mess everything up. So, in a way, I kind of think it might have been done intentionally, but then after listening to you, I kind of think, there's a worldview where that wasn't done on purpose. But my initial gut
don't let him sway you, Lewis. You be your own man.
Be your own man.
This happens to Spencer all too often. All too often. He hears Davey's point of view and goes, "Yeah, fair play, mate. I agree with that."
Yeah.
So don't be a Spencer on this one, Lewis. You be your own man.
He's just too handsome and like hypnotizing, Just looking into his eyes, it's like I gotta just listen to what Davey says. It's just has that.
All right, guys, gay.
You are becoming the next Spence. You are becoming the next Spence. Lewis, Jesus Christ.
But no, I think it was a mistake. Well, it wasn't. It was an intentional mistake, which wouldn't be a mistake. So there you go. Take that to the bank.
A bit of marketing. Try a bit of marketing.
Yes.
Well, we'll wait and see. I don't think it will be too long before we start seeing the Illuminates arrive, although I do still want these elusive buggies, bro. That's
Yeah.
all I'm looking for, Phil. That's all I fucking want. We were cruising around on Helldivers 1 in a little tank, weren't we, Lewis?
Oh, it was so much
Living
fun.
the dream. And it was class. And I fucked up. I drove us straight into a load of enemies. I drove us into a tree. We couldn't reverse it. I had to get out. Spence had to drive. It was fun as hell. We need that. We need those kind of things in.
And I was stuck in a mech and I was trying to get into the plane and I ended up blocking the door, so I had to run around the other side of the ship and almost missed the shit in the plane flying off. Oh, it was mint. So good.
Great game. Great
Lots
games.
to look forward to then.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Should we move it on to the final bit?
So as I think I've already lost, I'm going to set scorched earth here. I'm the Xbox guy, but I think I can name more PlayStation IPs than you guys. So I want to name PlayStation IPs.
And just to check, when you say PlayStation IPs, it needs to be. Are we
First
saying
party.
that it's first party? Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
no Final Fantasy, no...
no MGSs, things
No
like
Death
that.
Yes.
Stranding.
No. You guys ready?
Sure.
All right. Knack.
God of War.
Resistance,
Infamous.
Killzone.
Ratchet and Clank,
Ghost of Tsushima.
Sly. Cooper.
Little Big Planet,
Horizon.
Wipeout.
Astrobot.
Returnal.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, already been said, my
said.
friend.
Oh, is it?
Already been said.
Oh,
Yeah! The Xbox
Well
guy
done.
knows more
Hey.
PlayStation.
I'm always terrible at the first party, third party kind of situation when it comes to PlayStation.
It gets muddy. It gets
Gets
muddy.
really muddy,
It
yeah.
gets muddy. Last couple of generations has got really muddy.
Well, anyway, and thank you, Lewis, for stitching me up on that one, because I am, in fact, going to be talking about IP. So Sony's CFO, Hiroki Totoki, we haven't heard from this little lad for a little while, but he's back, and he says Sony doesn't have enough original IP. He goes on to say, whether it's for games, films, or anime, we don't have that much IP that we fostered from the beginning. Now, guys, I want to throw it over to you because I struggled to name lots of different PlayStation first-party IP, so maybe I can side with Hiroki Totoki because none came to mind when you're under pressure, and the podcast piles on the pressure because I know all you 40 listeners are out there laughing away. You could name hundreds. But do you guys agree with Hiroki Totoki on what he's saying, that PlayStation and Sony don't have enough original IP? And I'm going to throw it over to you, Lewis, first.
Fuck no. He's so wrong. It's unbelievable. That was the main reason I picked that subject, is because I wanted to prove that there's so many PlayStation's IP. We didn't even say Concord, for Christ's sake, or Bloodborne. There's so many. It's ridiculous. It's such a stupid comment. I don't understand it. There's so many really good IP in the PlayStation ecosystem that they've not touched in years. Bring back Silent Filter, bring back SOCOM, bring back Resistance. That. I know Davey would love that. I don't understand. It's a weird one. There's so many PlayStation IPs. That's one of the things they are definitely not lacking is IP. It's baffling to me. That's I don't understand where he's coming from with that. It's an odd one, very odd. I don't get it personally. I think it's a very, very strange thing to say.
All right, you don't get it, but part of what he said there was it's IP that we fostered from the beginning. So I'm just going to put a bit of thought into this one and read between the lines. Now, maybe Hiroki Totoki, and within his wisdom, obviously he's the money man. Now, he's looking at IP from PlayStation 1 and wondering why some of those very famous titles didn't continue. Now, Davey, have you got any thoughts to that?
Yeah, a couple. So I kind of take it the same way you're taking it, right? And I think there's two ways that you can read into this. So when he says whether it's for games, ridiculous, films or anime, totally get it. There isn't really. I can't really. Outside The Last of Us, I can't think of anything that's come from PlayStation yet. Obviously, they got the Horizon TV show and the God of War TV show kind of in the works, but that's really it. It's very early days for that kind of side of it. But if we take it back to games, I think you're right, Phil. I think that saying from the beginning, really, there's one franchise, and that's GT. That's it. Because if you think about the original PS1 stuff, right? The ones that now would be classed as first party, but they sold the rights off. Crash and Spyro, right? So Crash made by Naughty Dog, and Spyro made by Insomniac, and they're gone now. They're over in the Xbox family. So it's like the ones that made PlayStation what they are, the games that made them what they are really, were Square Enix with Final Fantasy, Konami with like Castlevania and Metal Gear, and fucking. Oh my god, I can't remember what the company was called at the time when Tomb Raider was being made. Can't even remember what they were called back then because they changed hands so many times. Now it's Crystal, but it certainly wasn't back then. Oh god. Anyway, besides the point, a lot of the IP that made the brand of PlayStation really successful weren't owned by them, right? And the ones that they did have under them, they sold off. So it's like there's not really that many when you take it to that side. However, I feel the way that I would initially read this on a face value is this guy, Hiroki, is a fucking monghead. And I would take it the same way that you've taken it, Lewis. Because there is so much... PlayStation, give it its dues, it is a growing place for new IP. Every single generation, we get brand new IP every single time. The studios move off. You think like Sly Cooper now, if that's put to bed, you get Ghost of Tsushima from that. And same with Infamous. Gone, put to bed, you get Ghost of Tsushima, right? So like the studios still go and they got a legacy, but they don't look after those things that are now in the graveyard. And it seems to happen all the time. Insomniac with Resistance, a prime example. Guerrilla with Killzone, another prime example, where they move on to the new shiny thing. They want to try something new, forge a new IP. They do really well with that IP, don't get me wrong, and that's why they then start forging down this path. Like Horizon's done incredibly well, so that's why Killzone's left in the dust. But why not foster those, man? Like I was saying before, I think it was on either last episode or the episode before, I was saying, why don't they have, like, the dream for me, I think it was when we were answering a listener question, and we were saying about, like, a new IP or old, for different studios when we were answering that listening question. And I was saying how really they could go onto a cycle. So you have like a Sly Cooper, an Infamous, and then a Ghost. And they cycle these IPs so they keep them fresh, they keep them still alive. And I guess they don't want to pigeonhole the studios into making things they potentially don't want to make anymore. And that enables the creativity and the happiness of the studios, which ultimately makes great games, right? So you don't want to do that, but then at the same time, why not put Firewalk, for example? Why did they have to make Concord? Like, why couldn't they have been put on making a Killzone? You know, like they got the shooter chops, things like that. Like, I think those conversations, they could have been had. And it's the PS4 generation onwards that's really fucked it. Because the PS3 was great. It had loads of IP from there, and they could have been continued, and they never were. And sure, we got great games as a result of that not continuing. We got IP that now we hold really, really dear to us. Like Ghost of Tsushima 2 is going to be massive when that comes out. And that never would have had the chance to come out if they had worked on another Infamous game, on Infamous 4. But I would like to still see them go back to that well. It's a wild statement to me. It really is.
I think Hiroki Totoki is just missing Parappa the Rapper. That's what I think he's referring to. I could have seen him, in his apartment, punch, kick. It's all in the mind, dancing along to Parappa the Rapper. I reckon he just misses Parappa the Rapper, and that spurred him on, because we haven't seen that little guy in a long, long time, and I need to see him on PlayStation 5. I think we need a bit of Parappa. So let's start that petition now. Again, that might be a Phil is right. Next year, Parappa the Rapper. It's incoming.
Well, we had a remake for it, didn't we?
PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
2017.
Oh, there you go. He's been on the Googles.
Someone's been reading Wikipedia.
So he has appeared back again, but certainly not in a brand new title. And I fuck me, Papa the Rapper came back. I mean, it wouldn't move me to go and buy it straight away. It really wouldn't. But I'd be happy to see it. It's a fucking legacy, and there's so much legacy we just leave for no reason whatsoever in this space.
So do you think Hiroki Totoki is looking at like maybe Nintendo and maybe getting that as like an idea of what they want? Because I didn't really think of it the way you guys described it, that they wanted to keep their IPs going over generations. But that is something that Nintendo are really good at. And they haven't really introduced a new IP since like Splatoon, I think, is probably their newest IP. And that was a Wii U game. I mean, like, how many versions of Mario are there? How many versions of Zelda are there? Yeah. The only ones I can really think of the PlayStation that does that is like God of War. I think is probably the only one I can really think of.
God of War and GT.
For generations. And GT, yeah. I mean, as you said, I think that's the only PS1 game that's still going. I can't think of any others. I never thought of it that way. So, yeah, maybe do you think they're trying to aim for a bit more of a Nintendo like vibe for Sony, like keeping as you said, keeping the IP alive and just basically repeating them over and over and over again, which has shown to work because Nintendo's very successful at it.
I think you've made a good leap of faith there, Lewis, and comparing it to Nintendo. Because he's noticed that, hasn't he, about that cycle that Nintendo have, and they do it very, very well. But I suppose slightly at the detriment of new releases. I think at the end of the day, all of this stuff is a balancing act. And Hiroki Todoki, when he's looking at the books, when he's got his spreadsheet open, he's got to take this into consideration when he's green lighting, the payments for these games. So if he wants some of the games from the past, he's going to have to spread the money a little bit more to the studios and bring back some of those legacy titles, because I for one would love to see some of the PlayStation 1 titles come back. It would be incredible to see.
There's one solution to this that is on the table that they haven't considered, or if they have considered, they certainly haven't done it yet. And that would be, you go out to the wider development community and say, hey, like there's a studio over in Capcom, for example. You say, right, Capcom guys, you fucking, like Marvel have done. So Marvel have said, here's our suite of characters. If you want to make a game in it, pitch it to us. And somebody could come up and say, oh, do you know what? I'm a massive Killzone fan. We would love to play around in this wheelhouse. And they got to pitch it. And then it means that Guerrilla can continue doing their creative freedom. They can do whatever IP they want. But that old IP can still be worked on by somebody else. And I think that's the only other solution that you could get to this, where then it keeps everyone happy. And I suppose the only downside would be you'd need to be up that studio's fucking ass to make sure they don't ruin that IP, right? You'd have to be all over them like a fucking bad rash. And do they have the time for that? I don't know. And that's that kind of Annapurna discussion all over again.
Blue Point are going to be very busy, aren't they?
Oh, God, yeah.
Bringing back everything. Yeah. They make every single game, don't they? Bringing back Bloodborne, apparently.
Bringing back
You've heard it here
everything
first.
we want them. Another Phil was right, even though we've talked about it and the internet's been talking about it for like 10 years.
I'll claim it, mate. I'll claim it. If I've said it,
list, mate.
It's on videotape.
So, listeners, I would love to know your kind of take on this. Are you siding on the initial take in that Hiroki Toki's on the crack? Or are you thinking that he's thinking back to the PS1 generation? Let us know, write in. Let us know on Twitter or wherever you want to reach out to us. psvtrust@gmail.com, of course, is still always open. Now, Phil, would you like the scores? I've been tallying them up as we've been going. Would you like to know the damage?
Oh, let's go.
So coming in, a surprise turn of events with 1 point is myself. So I've actually done the best on this episode.
Congrats.
Which, I know, it makes a fucking nice change, that. Coming in with 2 points, narrowly escaping the shot, is the fine wine himself, Mr. Philip Hoy, coming in with 2. And that does mean, Lewis, you've shit the bed on this.
Sorry, Spence.
Coming in with 3.
Once again.
Spencer's not going to be happy because he's been good at these categories. But, Spence, that's what you get for not turning up, my friend, for not being well. So you're not very well. Spence is under the weather, and then we're pushing him down even further by giving him a shot. But, sometimes a shot of Jaeger used to be cough medicine, didn't it? So
True.
It might make him better. Who knows? We'll find out on episode 100, I'm sure. But that does mean a shot in the dark for Spencer.
Sorry, man.
It's the way it goes. It's the way the cookie crumbles. And with that, we'll move it on. Stop! Topic time! Our main topic today is Concord. Now, we are not going to be going through a whining sesh about how sad we are that it's gone, because we've already covered that multiple times over the show. We're going to be going through a cheat sheet, almost, in terms of what has gone on here. So we're going to go through, why did this happen? Try and dispel a few of the myths that are surrounding this game out there in the community. Talk about some of the reasons it may have happened, and we're going to end with a couple of listener questions as well. So we got a lot to go through. It's going to be a bit of a juicer, I think, this one. Although first, I was talking about this when we were playing one of our Concord games, and I was saying that, I might make a jingle, I might make something as like a send-off for Concord. And I've actually done one better. Now, what I'm going to go through for you guys, I have not practiced before, okay? So this could go horrifically wrong,
Oh, no.
and I feel sorry for you boys to have to sit through this, but I give you my ode, my
Incredible stuff.
Thank you.
My
Yeah, the
God.
kazoo. I mean, say
Encore.
So glad
One
for
more
the kazoo.
song. Absolutely outstanding, mate.
Oh
Yes.
God.
I've been talking about the
Yes.
kazoo for
Wow.
like a week. I'm glad you actually did it.
Oh.
I was like, oh my God, he got the kazoo.
I'm crying for two reasons now. Crying for Concord being shut down and crying because that song was beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
moving.
It was
I
beautiful.
mean,
It's
I
moved me.
don't really know where we go from there. I think we kind of peaked. I don't know. The conversation
Yeah,
feels
yeah. 98.
redundant now.
That may be it. Well, moving on from that ode to Concord, that heartfelt ode that I wrote earlier today, and I just want to now move it on to a more serious discussion about why this fucking shit happened, right? So, first of all, I want to just give a massive shout out here to Lurian. I put out a post basically just bragging about my KD, right? And Lurian's come in with more facts than I've ever seen, and he has really helped me to be able to cut through all the bullshit online and just summarize it in a number of tweets that he's fucking nailed. So I want to just first off say, Lurian, you're the absolute GOAT. Thank you for coming through with this, because it really has helped shape how this entire section is going to go. So I think first off, guys, let's start off with some actual critiques that this game has. And we do see a lot of it online, and some of it you got to take with a pinch of salt. But as we often say on the show, with this smoke, there's fire, right? Now, character designs are an area that I can see there is an issue here in Concord. I think there is. I think that you can tell there's something here that they just feel bland. And I quite like them. Like, I like some of the ones that are out there, like One-Off. I really like his character design. I think he's great. But outside of him, everyone else kind of feels as if they were made in some kind of like factory, like a default character creator selection in terms of like, let's appeal to everyone, let's do that. Now, Lurian's put a great little tweet up here, right? And this is from one of the devs on Twitter. This Twitter thread, I'm going to read this thing out here first off. So somebody tweeted saying, kind of want to try to redesign one of the Concord characters, not to fix art or any pretentious bullshit, just an experience to see if I can find where it went wrong in the designs. Also, it sounds like a fun thing to draw. I love doing this kind of stuff. And one of the character designers came back and said, I was going to DM you after seeing this, but this site makes you pay to do that. So at the risk of getting dogpiled, I'm just going to say this here. A lot affected the art side of Concord, including design by committee, failure of some leadership to listen to the art team, etc. The character concept art team, including myself, is going through an extremely difficult time emotionally, and some on the team no longer want to work in games, design characters, or even do art anymore after this. Because of this, posts like yours, though understandable, are unfortunately ill-timed. None of us know which way the wind will blow with the studio. We're worried, sick and terrified of the future. Not only that, but we have been shouldering the brunt of the emotional labour as executives and directors dodge most of the blame. Behind the scenes of all this talk about Concord and character designs, people's livelihoods are at risk, and there are very real financial consequences that might hurt us even more. Now, I think what has been said there, and I'm not going to read the Twitter name out because I don't want to get anyone in trouble or anything. I think that rings totally true to me, that it feels like they were made in a committee. And it feels like as if this is one of those things where somebody may have come at this with some really unique kind of off-the-wall alien designs that are like pretty nuts. And they've been diluted and diluted and diluted to the point where it's a safe for everyone kind of accessible thing. Now, do you guys feel like that? And do you feel that that is one of the reasons why Concord has been affected so badly, because it doesn't have that kind of standout character that some of the other games like Overwatch or whatever has? Lewis, I'll start with yourself.
Yeah, I think you've summed it up pretty well there. I do think it's by committee. It does feel that way. Also, I feel like I feel wrongly so, but it feels like the people who are very anti-woke are anti this game. They feel like this is pushing like the woke liberal agenda, which I don't think it does, honestly. But there are people who really don't like this game because because it has pronouns and stuff in it and stuff like that. I'm like, they're not even like that big a part of the game. They're just in the corner. I think they are a bit bland. I think that might be the thing that's worse about it. They do kind of almost look like knockoff versions of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I love playing a Star Child, but his name is Star Child. You know, he's called like you got the Guardians of the Galaxy. You got the main character called Star Lord, and this guy looks like Drax. Like he's literally, they do feel like knockoff Guardians. Unfortunately, yeah, I would have loved to have seen the original designs. I would have been really curious. And there's also a thing that me and Spencer mentioned quite a lot is that people love the lewd side of like Overwatch and all that. That's like that is a big popular part of it. Is the people like, ooh, this character's really sexy. Ooh, like cosplaying as that character or like looking at Rule 34 of certain characters and all that makes that game really popular. And I don't, which is probably a good thing that is not overly sexualized, but the fact that they're not maybe doesn't appeal to some like gamers. I don't know.
I mean, I don't want to be the one to bring it up, but there's definitely some porn out there for Concord. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Terrifying stuff, but it does exist. So I don't think that puts off the porn industry if the characters aren't popular.
They adapt.
They'll slap a dick on most things.
They adapt. They adapt.
Literally.
And actually, funnily enough, we were in after you went off yesterday. Spencer was on. Me, Spencer, and Lewis we played until 3 a.m. last night, bro. It was ridiculous. That's why I'm so tired today. I was like, I wonder if there is porn for Concord. So I went on Rule 34, typed it in, and it is crazy. There's only one page, so hardly any. If you go on there and type in fucking Overwatch, you get there's more things that come up on that than like 9/11. It's insane. There's so much fucking porn on there. It's absolutely nuts. Rule 34. No, not 9/11 Rule 34.
Whoa,
but what I mean is, like, going on Google and typing in 9/11, you'll get a load of hits for 9/11, right? I don't mean that in the way that to build into a hit, right? I'm not going there for an American audience. I'm not taking that bag of potatoes, right? What I'm saying is, there's a lot of Google searches for a popular. Fuck it, I'm digging a hole. Right, I'm gonna move on. There's hardly any porn for Concord there, but as you quite rightly said, it does exist, Phil. And yes, it's horrific. It's not well done. I think it's the thing. We got the people that aren't the best at making art doing that. If I could have a sexy picture of Amari, I mean, I'm up for looking. But unfortunately, it looks like it was drawn by a kid. So it'd be a hard wank. Is what I'm saying.
Unfortunately, the characters weren't with us that long, so I don't think the porn artists had that long to sort of create their art when it came to slapping a dick on Amari, etc., etc. But yeah, it's out there, guys. So make sure to check that one out. But just to go back to your initial question before we've detoured into the world of porn, one of my first comments about the characters, and I think I made this after watching one of Jeff Keighley's showcases, and Concord was sort of demoed. At least we saw some of the intro, and they showed off a few of the characters. I came away from that, and I put out on Twitter, now X, if you want to scroll back on my profile, it's at Philip Hoy. I think I mentioned that, did any of the characters feel overly memorable? And from that tweet, I was met with a couple of different responses. One from Maloon. And straight away, he was a big one-off fan from the offset. And I think from that point on, I thought, okay, well, there's something there that's grabbed a few people. But unfortunately, Concord doesn't have those stereotypical character archetypes that you see with most games. There isn't much there that resonates, I think, with the sort of larger audience, right? They tried to pick out some niche bits and pieces and tried something which unfortunately didn't hit on all the levels they thought it was going to hit. And for me, like, I fell in love with the characters as soon as I started to play the game because the game's good. But if you don't have that initial character that sort of resonates with you, I think it's hard to invest that time into that character and want to play them. I think if you just turned off the visuals and just had the kind of stick models as such, right, and weren't blinded by the fact that, you had this kind of androgynous fat man with a backpack and actually played Dawn, you'd find out that these characters are ridiculously deep and multi-layered, and there's a lot of fun to be had. But I think if you can't get over that image, it really sticks with you. And just to pick up on something that Lewis touched on, I don't want to go too far into the whole woke thing, but I think when we look at Europe and when we look at the world, the whole wokeness is less accepted across the world, right? We live in the UK, and a lot of people do have those reactions to people, but they're very accepting of all the different, types of people out there. You know, you can be this way and that in the UK, and we accept everything, and we're very proud of that. But you go a short distance into Europe, and it's a very negative outlook on that lifestyle, and I think that definitely affected it. You know, I've had chats in Discord with people, and I don't want to shout them out, but I believe this person's from Romania, and they have a very different kind of outlook on people of that nature. And unfortunately, I think that is a blocker for a lot of people. So going down that route has definitely affected it for me. And unfortunately, it's just been detrimental, because if you can't get past that idea that clouds your vision, you'll never play the game.
Well said. Yeah, I completely agree with both of you. I think it is one of those things where there's odd glimmers of something in the character design, the odd moments, but generally they're pretty, like, you have to just not care. And for me, gameplay is always king, right? I could look at my character model and it could be the ugliest fucking thing in the world. I don't really care. If the game plays well, that's enough to get me in the door, right? That's all it was. The thing for me, I was impressed by the visuals in terms of the graphical fidelity when we first saw it. I think it was you and me, Lewis, who reacted to this. Yeah. And I really enjoyed the graph. I thought it looked amazing. But my first question wasn't, oh my God, these characters look weird or they don't look that unique. It's, I wonder if this plays slow, because it looks like it's a slower game. And that was my first critique, right? I was thinking, how is this going to play? Because that is what you're doing, right? But I get it. I do understand how people could have a visual reaction and think, there's nothing about this that appeals to me. And I can get it. I don't feel like that for myself, because the gameplay's king, but I can understand that viewpoint. And it doesn't mean you have to have someone that's overly sexualized and there's tits everywhere and arse, but you could have something that's unique. And I think that's where this game lost a few people, in that it did look vanilla. It just looked like it had no kind of character. And the character itself is actually in the game and what it brings, right? And like the lore and everything else is so deep on this game, but you've got to be in the door to be able to see that. And you're not going to go through that door if it's not going to appeal to you. So I think that's a valid piece of criticism there. The next one, I think this is something that I definitely feel is a genuine critique of the game, and one of the things that has, in part, resulted in it closing down. I think this is something that is a genuine issue with the game, is the game modes. Now, I think we got a few different game modes at launch. You got Kill Confirmed and Normal Team Deathmatch bundled into one. Then you've got like your kind of point capture and your capture the flag bundled into another. And your third one then is like another kind of mode, which nobody played because everyone's just jumping off the map. And that's really it. You're missing a lot of the other game modes that I think could have added some real value in this. And for me personally, I find the games just went too quick. The score count was too low, that you don't have swings and swings. Like, you have someone will start well and a team can swing and take over, but you don't often see it being like bang, 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 which it could have been if it was a larger net, I feel. And for me, I think that there wasn't enough variety here at launch, and I feel like with the game modes being kind of generic, really, for stuff that's already done in all the other games, there wasn't anything here that was like, this is a Concord thing. Whereas, you know, you could play, for Team Deathmatch and Kill Confirmed, you can play COD, you can play kind of any other shooter. For the other game modes that are there, they're just traditional kind of multiplayer modes. There wasn't anything here that screamed originality, and I feel like that was something that let this game down. Am I unique in that assessment, or are you guys feeling the same? Lewis, I'll come across to you again.
I quite like I disagree with the pacing of that. I quite like that it was only 30 kills, and it was quite, each match was quite snappy. Like, by the time you're, like, getting kind of bored, or, like, you feel like you're getting dominated or whatever, or you feel like you're getting, like, too good and you're burying someone, it's like the game's over. It's like, oh, great, cool, next game. Like, I quite like the rhythm of it. I thought the games were nice and quick and snappy. I quite liked that myself. But then I do agree with you on the game modes. Like, so there's a game mode in Concord where if you win a match, you can't use that character anymore. Is that in other games? Because I've never played a game mode like that before. I'm sure it's not new. I'm sure it's been ripped off from something.
I don't know. See, the problem is that with hero shooters and stuff, I'm not really that knowledgeable. So, like, Overwatch I've never really played. those kind of games just never really tickled my fancy. I don't know what it was about Concord that made me just get in the door. I think it was just the beta. Just the beta was just class. I loved it. And I think that's probably why. Maybe if I played Overwatch beta, maybe I would love that too. But yeah, I don't know. I can't confirm.
Imagine if they didn't have the beta, like how many, like, because literally the beta sold us on it. Could you imagine how many people would have bought the game if they didn't have the beta? Bloody hell. Like, it would have been even less.
Diabolical. Phil, you've played a bit of Overwatch in your time. Do you recognise any of the game modes from that?
Well, I wasn't a huge Overwatch. I dipped in from time to time, but I was never hardcore in that sense. But what I don't get with Concord and what they presented to us early doors was, why not just give us a few more options, okay? If we're only going to be able to play the certain game modes that they've selected, just give us a couple of options, even just like a little dial where we could set it to longer games. Right? There was nothing overly unique, I think, within those modes that stood out to me as if that was the thing to play. That is the Concord setup to play, right? Why not add a single player or something extra to the game that you could play maybe when you weren't playing the sort of online kind of matches? The storytelling was super in depth, the videos, the galactic map. There were so many layers to all that other stuff, but it could have been just something else to kind of keep you locked into the game. And for me, it was just missing kind of the quality of life things, okay? So the map voting, for example, replays, even as simple as just rematching a team. Now, can you imagine when we had that really sick match where we turned it around and we were playing one of the devs? If we could run that back over and over, that would have been sick, and that would have just kept you invested in it. There were so many matches where I thought, I'd love to play it again, especially when we got absolutely wiped. I thought, well, now I know what characters I need to pick to be able to beat this team. Now I know what combo that's gonna, surpass the enemy that's just obliterated us. Why not have those options within it? I can't imagine, I'm not a game dev, but those types of things, I could imagine they would have came in time when it came to Concord, because it's a live service game, right? And they promised a long, long roadmap of all these different editions. And I could imagine this would get sprinkled in, but not having those things that, you would automatically assume you would get in games. It just felt a bit, not cheap. Cheap's the wrong word, but it didn't feel like a full product.
I get what you mean. For me, the big one that stands out is like a moment of the match kind of thing.
Yes, those type of things.
Like in COD, they're great. They're so hype, and on here to be able to see it and to see and it might not even be a kill cam. It might just be a really fucking sick play that somebody set up, and they might not have even finished it, but they managed to create an opportunity for someone to have and it shows the last 30 seconds or minute, and you could watch it if you want to, or you could dip. Those kind of things would be class. And disbanding lobbies is an issue which COD is really fucking guilty for at the moment. And they've been doing it for a while now, since Modern Warfare 2018 or 19, whatever it was. And it sucks because you want to have old school COD, right? If you take it old school COD, I promise this will make sense. Old school COD had the lobby would be static. And so if you wanted to go matchmake, you'd have to exit out that lobby and go back into matchmaking. And it meant that you could form these rivalries with people. And you could be in that same lobby potentially all night. And you could be like, this fucking guy, this guy's pissing me off. And then you'd be on the Xbox voice chat or PlayStation voice chat. And you'd be like, oh, your fucking mother, blah, 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 blah. Speaking shit in between games. Oh, fucking do you now? But then you'd create these little friendships and these little rivalries that would make the game so much more meta. And it's why people look back on things like Halo lobbies from Halo 2 and 3 or COD and all these things so favorably, because you get these little meta stories developing within it. As soon as you have a disbanding lobby, it immediately puts that's gone. That's totally gone. There's no way for that to happen. And it's a fucking shame. It's a proper own goal, I feel. If they just kept you in there, like you said, Phil, we could have had some fucking insanely good games. We would have found teams and just never left. Because you're we've lost every single time. This is our one. And you know how competitive me and Spence are? We'd be we're not fucking losing. We're not leaving. No one logs off until we fucking beat them. And then it would be you beat them and they all leave. And you'd be oh, pussies. Like that kind of thing. You wouldn't get any of that. You kind of lose that stuff, and you just hope that they come back round in matchmaking queue.
You're just so disconnected. That's the problem from your opposition. You never, as you're saying, you never built up that rivalry, did you? So you would never have that feeling of conquering something that you couldn't maybe beat, because as soon as you lost to them, you've lost them.
As Dor says, me and my crew. And you feel like, why can't we be taking it to their crew? It's about the bounties, about the crew versus crew, right? And you don't get to build that because you just leave them for another crew. And
there's no clans, is there? Back in the day when I first got into video gaming, I was massively into Counter-Strike, and these were the days where, I could play a first-person shooter a bit more competently than I can these days. And I really enjoyed the whole building of a clan and building up that rivalry and logging on at 8 o'clock, getting on TeamSpeak, make sure you book a server. Right? This was back in the day where Steam was green, right? And it was very difficult to set that up. You needed multiple websites to be able to organize a match. Now, we come to expect those things to just be baked into our video games now, and none of it was there with Concord. It's just unfortunate.
I mean, surely that would all be stuff they would have added eventually. It's just a shame that it kind of didn't even get a chance to really evolve or grow. Like, as you said, there was a roadmap, but we didn't even get past 2 weeks. It's insane that they didn't even give it that much of a chance.
But then you think about it on the other side, right? And maybe this is the danger of live service games, right? And we always say that you got to put your best foot forward with a game. And some of these things, granted clans, things like that can come at a later time. But having something as simple as a disbanding lobby and a replay of the fucking match, like a highlight, I don't think that's a huge thing to ask for, right? Like, it's not huge, and they would have made the beta that much more enjoyable for people, I think, and would just made that we don't get disbanding lobbies happens all the time now, and to not have one is a proper rarity, and it's nice. It's like the same as having when you don't have SBMM in your game. It's something to shout about because people enjoy not having those things, right? They like the old school kind of nature for it, and they're things that you'd hope would come. But then I don't think it's a good enough excuse sometimes to be like, well, they would have improved it, because why not do those simple things right at the gate, And I think that people are right in that critique of the game modes. I think that's a valid critique. And I think that is definitely one of the weaknesses of the game. But this is one that I think is going to be a little bit divisive, especially amongst us. Pricing structure. This was the other thing that was widely shouted about on the internet. Was the fact that it was a paid game and it wasn't free to play. Do you feel, for yourself personally, that is a factor in this? And would you prefer it to have been free to play from the rip, or are you happy to have paid the money?
Yeah, I can discuss this earlier as well. Yeah, I hate free-to-play games. I was more than happy to pay the money just to play it. I don't like the idea of getting a game and then being nickel and dimed constantly. Like, ooh, buy this skin, buy this battle pass. And that's what annoys me about Call of Duty. I pay $70 or £70 for it, and then you get all that on top of it. I like the fact that Concord was a full game. I know we were talking about how it was missing features, but a full game when it came to like unlocking characters and skins and stuff, you didn't have to pay extra for them. I really enjoyed that, but it does seem like the mass majority of the population, I feel like it sounds like I'm the one in the minority here. I think I'm the only one who's actually willing to do this, or like one of the few, because it does seem like the mass majority are like, nah, we'll have it for free, and we'll take all the extra shit that's just going to be shoved down our throats. Like, I would have preferred just to not have to pay for, have all the microtransaction bullshit, but I think most people are used to that now with games like Fortnite and Apex and other free-to-play games like that. I think that is the common ground, unfortunately.
Lewis, I completely agree with you. I think that I was happy to pay the money for it. And it was like a breath of fresh air to me to not have all the microtransactions and the fucking different currencies and all this bollocks. To not have any of that and for it to just be a gameplay experience. It was such a breath of fresh air. And I'm so used to seeing at the end of a game a battle pass come up, and you got your 2 tiers, you got your premium tier and your default tier. Default tier is all bollocks. premium tier's class, and you think, oh, well, I don't want to pay an extra 10 quid now just so I can lock this sparkly skin. Why can't they just include that, you know? And to have that included in, and just to have the base game there was great. Now, I think there was an issue with skins and stuff, and I'm sure we'll go on to that when we talk about the future of the game and how it's how it can come back. But I totally agree with you. I think you're bang on. I think we are in the minority, and I don't regret them doing this. I think it was just a case that maybe the beta and the character designs were a thing that stopped it from being able to find a core audience. I don't think it was necessarily the pricing point, but I think that it's more so the systemic issues of the kind of first foot forward when it comes to the character design, I think. And the fact that the gameplay felt very generic to start with. And it's only when you play it for a number of hours that you realize how deep it is. But you won't necessarily get that experience from a beta if you check in for an hour or two. Because it would feel like any other game you play, but just, you know, you're playing as Door, you know, rather than Sexy Angel Bird. So that's kind of where it goes from there. But what about yourself, Mr. Hoy?
Well, Davey, I'm at an age where if I buy a game, I want the game, right? I'm so used to that, right? I've grown up buying games. I have shelves adorned with hundreds of games, physically, those games. I very much don't enjoy buying digital games. I don't buy a lot of DLC. And I only really buy DLC when it's the real standout stuff. But with Concord, obviously I was happy to pay. I actually bought this one digitally because I knew it was going to be a game after the beta that I would end up playing a lot, and I knew it would be in and out of my PlayStation. So those types of games, it's obvious to buy it digitally, all right? But it was quite different to the current standard, right? Most shooters these days, outside COD, they are your free-to-play model. They are your nickel and dime, you know, jump in, enjoy the game, and, you know, pay £10 every time you want a new sparkly skin. But Concord were trying something different, and I really appreciate that. It was a much more, I suppose, old school way of thinking. As I said, where you buy the game and you get the game. It was like my sort of youth of video gaming, really, more than anything. And I really liked that, and I really appreciate it. And it was one of the things actually that attracted me to playing Concord. I really liked that we were going to get a lot of stuff for what actually seemed like quite little money.
Exactly. And I think there's definitely issues with some of the stuff that was there, and the progression I felt was a little bit slow. But in terms of having a game be a game, and it to work and not to be full of bugs, I didn't encounter anything on the full. I haven't encountered anything on my time since the game launch. I had a couple of issues in the beta, which we discussed about, but the main game was fucking flawless. I didn't have a single issue when it came to a bug, nothing like that. And you just don't get that. Like in modern gaming, it's wild. Did you? What did you encounter?
Well, I couldn't log in for. I had a couple of issues of trying to log into the game where I was just stuck in the loading screen for about 10-15 minutes, like trying to log in. I don't know if you guys remember.
Your internet was on the fuck though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
your internet was on the fuck, to be fair. Lately, hadn't it?
But that was the annoying thing, and then also the last one day when I was playing on my own, the game crashed twice on me when I was in the middle of a game. It just like it just froze, and then it said like report error, but it might have just been because like, you know.
Oh wow!
Oh, that's a genuine bug. That's a bug.
Yeah.
I would say the first one might be down to your internet because you've had the same problems tonight while we've been recording this.
That's true.
So I wouldn't put that one down to Concord. But the second one, if you're sending in those reports to Sony, then you can class that one. We might even play the theme tune at some stage for the Bug Hunter because you've very much taken over Spencer's position.
But apart from that, it has been a pretty smooth experience. To be fair, I just thought I'd mention that I have had a couple. But then it's a lot of games I've played that I've had a lot worse experiences. So, you know, it's not the end of the world. They weren't game breaking. Well, they were.
No, definitely
you know what
not.
I'm saying.
At the end of the day, you weren't paying £70 for this game. You know, like it was a full, legitimate, solid game for what it was, and there was lots of room to grow. But at the end of the day, we weren't shelling out a lot for this game. And especially if you're on the PS Stars and the PS Points, like I was, got £10 cheaper. So it seemed quite nice, actually.
£25's not bad, is it?
Yeah,
That's
25 quid
That's
was
lovely.
good for that game.
We could be on the wrong side of this, but I really don't feel like the pricing structure was the Achilles heel to this. I think it was everything before that. I think if they had got the game modes right for the beta and like had a bit more diversity and something that really spoke, this is a Concord thing. You know, like you think of COD, right? Competitive CODs, search and destroy. Normal COD, TDM, right? That's like what you think of that for that game. There wasn't something here that you think, that's it. That's the Concord spice. That's the Concord magic in here. There wasn't that. And if the character designs alongside that don't appeal, the two combined is going to push a lot of people away. And I think that is more so the Achilles rather than the price. But we all bought it. So maybe we are just in the minority.
I think the main selling point was the equipment carried over between like deaths. So if you put a wall up with Duchess, that wall would stay there the whole game. Or if you put cameras down and stuff like that, or shields or portal, that was their main selling point. But obviously, it didn't really sell. Like no, it didn't really get across. People didn't really get it until I only really got it once I started playing it. To be honest.
And I suppose the other thing that they do is the crew builder, right? And that was supposed to be their thing, but I don't think that's a good enough. It's a not good enough feature. It's nice to be able to augment people, but I never really did care too much.
And it wasn't explained very well, I don't think. You know, like going back to my quality of life, which I touched on earlier, like I make websites, right? And when I want someone to do something, I'll add a tooltip. I'll put a little marker saying, this is where something is, this is important, this is something you should do. And when that system was introduced, it took me a long, long time to fully and I don't think I fully understand the system, but it was explained to me a few times. And ultimately, it wasn't a big enough draw, or we wouldn't play in it at the level which we needed it. And I think if we had more time, I think we would have made more use of it. I think it's quite it's a system that you need to fully understand the game to actually find the benefit within it.
I find it's just a bit of a flaw where you've got to send out a character that you potentially might not even want to play to be able to benefit the character that you do want to play. I just feel it's like, why? I want Amari to be faster, but then that means I have to play Rocker or Baz first to be able to then get that ability for the character I actually want to play. And it's like, I just don't think it's a well-designed system. I think it's fine and it's cool, and it is cool to see people where they've had a lot of deaths and their characters like fucking insanely buffed then because they've done all these different varieties, but it's not a draw. No one's going to be like, oh, I want to play Concord because I want to play 3 different characters to make my character good.
No.
Like, it's not a good enough thing. And
just on that point, Dave, before you do move on, I'm sorry.
No, carry on.
Because we are labouring this point slightly. But everyone is so loyal when you play video games. Everyone has their favourite character in every single game that they play. If there's options, you will always find that affinity to whatever character, whatever gels with you, whatever you get the highest score on, right? And you always want to play that character. To be forced to change away from that character, it doesn't feel good, man. It doesn't feel good. I want to be buffed on the character I like, not on the character I don't like, as you're saying. It just doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
It's not a great system.
Also, like if you start off with one character you don't like, there's no guarantee you're going to get the character you do like once you die, because someone could have already took that character. So it's like you're risking. It's like, oh, I want to play this character, but I want to buff her first, and then you buff her, and then that character's taken the next time around. It's like, well, I fucked it there, didn't I? Like, you know, you can't guarantee to get the characters you want because they're limited to one per person.
And this I suppose is a wider systemic issue with Concord, is that their way to get around this, because the logical step would be, you think, right, well, why can't we have like a class builder? So like COD, you know, like where you pick your loadout, right? And so one person's weapon would be totally different from another's. So why couldn't I say, right, you've got 3 perks or whatever. Amari, then I might have it so she's got faster reloads. I might have it so she's got faster sprint speed, and I might have it that she's got harder hitting melee. And
she's
then
already busted, dude. You don't need any of that.
I know.
If you had that, Jesus Christ, the game is broke.
But yeah, you get what I mean. Like,
I do get what you mean.
To get those things, I would have to. Well, obviously the melee isn't one, but to get like the faster reloads, I'd have to play as Deviers, and to get the faster movement speed, I have to play as Baz or Rocker, right? And so I can build that into my Amari to make my ultimate Amari, but it takes like 3 characters before I even get there, if I get there, because the scoreboard isn't high enough. So by the time I get there, I've got maybe 3 or so kills left with my character and it's over, unless I'm totally shit and I'm just dying like straight off the rip. I think they could have had like a picking your character select thing like COD, where you can really do these things and there's negatives to them or whatever, and you kind of do that. But because they had variants, and that was their kind of way to give you a different version of your character, was the variant that would come out every single week. That's fucked. I think that fucked it. I think that and the crew builder together are just a mistake. I think they tried to make that unique, whereas they probably should have focused on something else and taken what fucking COD and everyone else does well and make it so you can customize your guy from the rip. And that would have been much better, in my opinion.
Okay, you're playing a first-person shooter. We look at the scoreboard at the end, and I'm 0 for 10. Have I done bad? Yes. But in Concord, I've switched to a bunch of characters. If we're playing COD, and I'm 10-0, and I haven't died once, you're like, you've played a perfect game. But Concord is encouraging you to die. It doesn't make sense for a first-person shooter to want you to die. You want to stay alive. You don't want to die. You want to be the best at playing that character. I don't want to go through 3 or 4 deaths just so my Dawn character is so overpowered that I literally can't die. And to be fair, she couldn't anyway. But it just doesn't make sense. Why would I want to die in a first person?
Yeah. I think it's something we can look past because of how much we enjoy the game, right? Like, indeed. I can look past it because I was quite happy staying with base Omari from the rip. Yeah. And that would be it. And I'll be slow, I'll be lumbering around, but I'll still end with 60-0. And it's fine. Like, I can make it work. But would I have liked to be able to have that? When she's got faster movement speed, she feels lush. She feels so nice. But I don't want to have to start with Rocker every time. I don't want to have to start with these other characters. I want to play Amari. Like, that's all I want to do. And I think that's something where it's a brave decision, but I think it's fucked. And I don't think it's right. And we look past it because the game's just so much fucking fun. But I feel it is a fatal flaw with the game design of this game. And
agree.
Something that I feel, especially when people didn't understand it in the beta, like you said, Phil, because I don't think it was very well explained, it probably put people off. And I think there is something to that. Lewis, I know you've been desperate to say something here.
All I was going to say as well is with the variant, it's not very easy to access the variants either. You had to put them into your crew and add them to your crew that way, and then change your crew and then put it into the game. So I don't understand why you couldn't just have a toggle in-game to swap between different variants of the same character. I don't understand that. Like I was saying before, like games like Super Smash Brothers, you just push X or Y and you change colour of the costume. Why couldn't you just have that for your variants? Like, push this button to change it from variant 1 to variant 2. Instead, you had to build a whole new squad just to put your new variants in, which was just very convoluted and weird to me. That was another thing that was just bugs me about the variant system.
It's this whole design philosophy of thinking that you're going to create this perfect crew and that you're going to really love to build this crew out to be, you know, like really unique and your crew people. But I'm one of these people, like when I play a fighting game, it's very similar. I find 1 or 2 characters and I don't give a fuck about the rest. And that's, I imagine, I can't see a universe where that isn't the norm, right?
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
I'd never see people where they're like good with everyone and they want to play everyone. People were playing everyone because they wanted the trophies, right? Like that was the only reason we were all moving around different mains and trying different people is for the trophies. Otherwise, I think there was like, I think Balloon said it himself, and I know Spence said it a couple of times, and I think you might have even said it as well, Lewis, actually, so it might have been 3 people say it. Be like, I can't wait to get these trophies done, so I can just play. Spence was like, I can't wait to get these done, so I can just play at sea all the time. And it's like, obviously the crew build doesn't mean fuck. Like, it doesn't matter, because they just want to play their character. And we all felt like that. We were all trying different characters out because of the trophies, not because we felt, our crew's our crew. They're our boys. We're going to stick with them. No one gives a fuck. Like, really, no one cares.
But in the beta, I just stuck to Star Child, and I really enjoyed using the Star Child. But in the actual full game, me playing those characters and getting them all to level 10 to get the trophies, I did start to learn new characters, and I liked Teo, I liked Heimar. There was a couple of characters I picked up because I was forced to try new characters. So that might be like the positive spin on it. But I do agree with you for the most part. Once you got your characters down, you stick with them most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we've made a good enough rationale for why it happened. I think we've also added some constructive criticism here. Remember, listeners, we fucking love this game. Like, we love it.
Yeah.
But even I can see the flaws in there and the kind of the things that would have stopped it. But I think the next thing we'll move on to is just a little myth dispel, right? I've got one big myth I want to kind of break on this, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. The myth itself that I've been hearing loads is that this game's been in development for 8 years, right? 8 years of dev time spent. If I've seen that once, I've seen that 1,000 times. Well, there's some tweets here that Lurian thankfully put together, and the first is from a guy, Hamrick, right? Josh Hamrick over on Twitter, so make sure to go and give him a like and a follow. And he said, I started a Firewalk in the spring of 2019. We were less than a dozen devs working shoulder to shoulder in a friend's attic. So 2019 to now certainly isn't 8 years. And the next thing we know is that, just to get some clarity out this from Jim FW over on Discord, just to get some clarity out here, 8 years ago, Concord was a wouldn't it be cool if with napkin sketches and stuff. Firewalk has only existed for 6 years, and most of the content is actually in the game was built over the last 4 years or so. And I think this goes alongside the thing that people are saying this is a huge monetary loss for Sony in terms of the cost of development, where this has been 8 years in and there's been 1,000 developers. Talking, if we take what Hamrick has said here as fact, that it grew up to 100, right? What Hamrick and Jim are saying here, that it grew up to like 100 odd devs. I don't think it's that bad in terms of like being, you know, like some people were saying around, like going around chucking out like 80 odd million and shit like that. There's no way it got there. I'm not saying it wasn't expensive because the game looks beautiful, right? And they've spent a lot of money when you look at everything else. But
yeah,
I think let's just get that one out of the way straight away. That 8 years dev time is just a load of absolute bullshit. Your thoughts, guys? Lewis, come to you.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting because you brought this up in the notes, and I was like, wait, it wasn't 8 years? Because I've heard this rumor as well, and I thought it was legit. So you've literally debunked it for me as well. I didn't realize that this was all bollocks. I thought the 8 year thing was true. It's really interesting. Yeah, like as you said, development scales up. So obviously, it's not, even if it was 8 years, it's not 8 years of hundreds of people working like round the clock, 7 days a week, 24 hours working on this game. As you said, it sounded like it was a small team, and it's grown over the years. Like Sony saw something in this small team and bought them, and then they grew. Right? I mean, that's as far as I was aware. I thought the 8 year thing was true, so I'm glad you debunked it because I didn't. As I said, I just heard that and just assumed it was right. So yeah, you've debunked it for me. So there you go.
You can thank Lurian for that little nugget, because I would have said 100% that 8 year thing, I'd heard that from so many sources that I would have taken that as fact. So I'm glad that Lurian was able to uncover those little tidbits from the developments themselves. Phil, over to you. What do you think about all this?
I love it that we're dispelling myths. I'm a big fan of Mythbusters. Now, if we had the theme tune and we could play it without getting YMCA'd over on YouTube, I'm sure we'd be playing it at the moment. We've got a lot of theme tunes going on at the moment, haven't we? But man, like, I'd want to work at Firewalk. If they were getting 80 million, did you say, split between a handful of devs? Get me in, sign me right up. That sounds brilliant. They must have been loving life. They must have been popping bottles all day long on that money. Nah, mate. This just sounds like a series of Chinese whispers. One person said to another, and it's just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And of course, Twitter has just added into this rumor just to make it even worse that this game has only lasted a couple of weeks. Now, they probably just take the end figure and they've just kind of run with it, but they've added a couple of extra O's, and that's how we've ended up in this spot. But I just think it's just another dig. You know, Like,
Yeah.
if anyone actually spent the time, and obviously we have a dedicated fan within the NPS We Trust family that has gone out within Lurian and fact checked what's been said. And he does this a lot, and he's very, very good at it. So I would encourage everyone to go out and follow Lurian over on Twitter. We won't put his Twitter in the description because we always say we will and we never end up doing it. But if you can find him over on Twitter, make sure to follow him because he does a lot of this and he really cuts through the smoke when it comes to these facts. But yes, that 8 years, just ludicrous at the end of the day. Really, really is.
That's the main kind of thing I wanted to break here. But I also wanted to talk through this little nugget that Lurian's picked out. And he said, Firewalk is packed with tenacious fighters, multiple acquisitions, an engine upgrade from UE4 to 5, global pandemic, project delays. The fact we shipped it all is legendary. None of us know what's next, but I do know this team is capable of wild energy when faced with a challenge. And I gotta say, like, it's wild, to think of. And can you imagine that 4 years going through that,
Yeah.
Like, this insane amount of stuff, and especially as, like, the project probably evolved, and it went through so much, like, kind of committee stuff as well, surely. I wonder what the original vision was, Like, I wish I could be, like, a fly on the wall. Yeah, and just know what they originally had in store and what it turned out to be. I'd love to do that. Like you were saying about the character designs and stuff, Lewis. Love to know. Be so interesting. A potential doco in the future, maybe, from somebody, I'm sure. Now, the next thing I want to talk on, we kind of went through it when we were talking about like Chinese whispers and stuff, is the toxicity of social media and the impact that had. Do you feel, obviously, the social media outrage has been insane, and we've noticed it ourselves. We put out a couple of shorts on YouTube a while ago when we played the beta, saying how much we enjoyed it, and the amount of vitriol that got thrown our way was insane. It was absolutely insane. The only time we get anything close is whenever we do like a Xbox Reacts, and we get so much shit for that, even though we spend the entire thing saying, "Oh my god, that was the best showcase we've ever seen," right? The people like latch on.
Not even listening to us.
No, they literally latch on to the one thing of hate where I'm saying about like why are people playing Flight Sim, where I'm taking the piss, obviously. And they latch onto it and they're like, "Oh, you're such a fucking dickhead. Oh, I wish I could fly a jumbo jet." Fuck off, right? Do you feel the toxicity that surrounded this game had the impact on it? And that was one of the killing blows for it? Or do you feel like most people, or like us, for example, we can look at that and I don't give a fuck what anybody else is saying. If I've played it and I've enjoyed it, that's enough for me. Do you feel that had the impact on this game and helped promote its decline?
100%. Oh, absolutely. I feel like that is that was the biggest problem, is the social media backlash. I already talked about the woke liberal agenda. You got that, like you've got the people online who just don't like that kind of stuff, and as you said, like places around the world that are totally against that stuff. It didn't really bother me, but that is like the thing that people see when they see Concord. Unfortunately, that is like the first thing they see is like, "Oh, it's so woke." Ugh. Like, I don't think it is, but it just gives off that appeal, and then that's what people run with. And as you said, social media is toxic, and then people are like, "No one's playing this game," so then no one plays the game. Like it's like a lot. It's like almost like self-fulfilling prophecy a lot of the time with the online discourse. Like, "Oh, no one's gonna buy this game." It's like, "Oh, I guess I won't buy it then." Before this game even came out, I heard a lot of, "No one's gonna buy it," and then guess what? Nobody bought it. So it's like as I said, it feels like, yeah, I feel like the social media was a big detriment to it. I feel like if people just gave it a chance, I feel like more people would like it, and they would have maybe survived longer than 2 weeks if people like. I feel like maybe if they had more betas, it would have been a better, because the beta sold us. If more people tried the beta out, I think it would have been more successful, or maybe like survived at least. Yeah, I think it's a bummer that people kind of saw it as this one thing and just didn't even give it a chance. I think we all gave it a chance and we liked it, so we bought it. And a lot of people didn't even give them that initial chance, which sucks. It's a bummer.
It really is, mate. I completely agree with you. Phil, what about yourself?
100%. And I believe, unfortunately, this game was dead before it started. You know, the social media backlash was lashing even before we got our hands on the game, even before we got into the beta. You know, it's a bunch of dweebs hiding behind anime girl profiles on Twitter, just raging at things, right? And they see something a little bit different out there, a little bit woke, as Lewis has touched on a few times, and they're just going mad. It's a bunch of old men, ugly men sat behind anime girl profiles. And that's all you see. No one's ever themselves on Twitter, are they? No one will actually have their face and have this very, stern standpoint about this game. It's all just fucking dickheads behind weird little pictures where they'll never put their name to it. We had one the other day that came onto our YouTube. David was talking about the comments that we had, right? Again, a little dweeb hiding behind an anime girl profile, right? And he said, I quote, "I told you Concord was going to be shit, didn't I? It's not going to sell. Ah, ha, 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 ha." And it was as simple as that. So I commented back, cracked my knuckles, and I said, "So did the androgynous character within the game make you feel some type of way where it's got you angry about this?" I said, "Maybe you should embrace those feelings and learn to love a little bit, because ultimately you'll probably enjoy a lot more games if you give a lot more games a bit more of time and options." And yeah, I don't think he commented back to that one. So yeah, fuck you, little dweebs.
I totally agree with you, Phil. This is normally my stance in terms of that people online, they live online in their little fucking hole, typing into their fucking keyboard and mouse, Doritos flying everywhere, and sitting there, "Mom, get the door, there's somebody at the door, Mum, I can't leave my fucking computer because I gotta refresh Twitter 24/7. Go outside, you fucking twat. Like, just go outside. Fucking touch a vagina. See the world, man. Like, don't be such... Why? I never understand. Like, unless you're brought up in a culture or your parents really did a fucking number on you, and you have, like, this fucking horrendous worldview where you can't stand minorities, you can't stand they, them pronouns because, oh God, it's so painful. Go out into the real world. Like, every single corporation, especially here in the UK anyway, every single corporation, if you weren't towing this line, and you weren't, it's not a case you have to be, like, fucking bowing down to it. You just have to be tolerant. And it's like as if people can't be tolerant. I can't fathom it, because, like, I don't care about pronouns, right? They mean fuck all to me. People could call me fucking love for all I care, or girl, whatever. I wouldn't give a fuck, because ultimately I don't care. Like, I really don't give a fuck. But people that do, and they either want their pronouns pronounced, I'll respect it, because what damages it to me? It does nothing to my life for me to change how I speak to somebody the way they want to be spoken to. It does nothing to me. Like, I will go into a meeting with whoever I have as a new manager, and I'll be like, look, my communication style is just be direct. I don't like you beating around the bush. I prefer you just tell me how it is. And I got thick skin, I'll be fine, right? Don't worry about it. Don't have to pull your punches. I prefer that way. Other people, I know from experience of managing, where they like it soft and gentle. They like it to be, like, wrapped in cotton wool before you give feedback, and you got to give the good and bad and in equal measure and all that stuff. Everyone's got their own preferences for the way that people talk to them or the way that people like to be represented or whatever it is. And I think ultimately, these people who are just permanently online and they get into their little bubbles where it's just them and their little fucking shitty ginger ass fucking Dorito covered mates, and they're all just fucking horrendous together. And they can be online and they can do that because in the real world they can't act that way, and because they don't speak to anyone. Because they're permanently online playing their fucking nonce games like that fucking cat dress up game. And they're doing shit like that.
I was just about to say, they're the one playing all the female characters, pretending to be women online. So what's the difference? You should love Concord. You're one of them. You like all this type of stuff because you're doing it online. You like pretending to be a little child online and having a little cartoon as your picture. Dweebs.
Fucking losers, man. Absolute fucking losers. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. But I think before we get on to the listener questions, and we got 2 of them, I think what we'll do is, in terms of the future, right, for this game, obviously it's been taken down right now. We don't know anything further. We don't know what's happening. Just a little bit of speculation. We don't have to spend too long. What do you think is going to happen with this now? What kind of, are they going to change model? Whatever you want to go with it, go for it. Phil, I'm going to come around to you, actually.
Sure. Well, I kind of think that probably the same as the majority of people, this will end up coming back, and I really hope it does, and I hope the core gameplay, which we've fallen in love with, doesn't change dramatically. But I think it'll be the free-to-play model. But I hope they go more down the League of Legends kind of style, because of course some of the devs, I believe, worked on the game, or there's some sort of connection between ex-Riot devs and the Concord setup. But have that kind of, optional extras where you aren't forced into battle passes as such, but you can buy vanity items and they could make some of the money back from that. And if they are going to spend a lot of time now reassessing some of the character design and really upping the sort of visuals in that respect, there's money to be made, isn't there? Definitely. If that's something that you really hate within the game, let's make those nutters pay to change, Dawn into a sexy Dawn. Let's fuck them. Let's put it on them. Let's turn it around and say, if you want her in a bikini, 20 quid, mate. Let's turn it around. Because none of that matters to me, and I'll just play the game regardless.
I completely agree with you. I think that's exactly what they should do. And I think it should be, you could get around a bit of it by having things like, if you wanted to appeal to the masses who are so anti-woke or whatever, you just have, as soon as the game starts, pronouns on or off. Things like that. And people could customize it to whatever they want. And it means that, and it would be on by default, and then you have to turn it off if you hate them, right? And there's no damage done then, is there? That's not a bad thing, I think. You can just take that or leave that. That's one thing. Secondly, though, I completely agree with you. I think that the future of this game, as you quite rightly said, I think it's going to come back. They've spent way too much now on controllers and with the tie-ins for different things. They need this, or they want this to be a big thing. And I think you might as well listen to the community at this point. And if the overriding voice is saying that they don't like the character designs, go back to fucking basics. You can keep them doing exactly the same shit, but tweak things up a little bit. Make it so they do have a little bit more personality, so they are more unique. You could still have Amari in fucking power armor, but why not have it so that one of the skins, she's got like the helmet fully down and she's like fucking looking like with cool ass like LED eyes or whatever. You could do whatever you want, right? You could tweak the character designs and still keep them who they are, but make it so they've all got the kind of affinity that One-Off has. Like One-Off for me is just like perfect.
They got him right, haven't they?
They've nailed him. They've absolutely nailed him. And I think everyone else could be tweaked or changed to make them stand out a little bit more. Could it be that fucking your character, Lewis, instead of being like a Drax ripoff, why didn't he have like cool ass fucking spikes coming out of his shoulders or something to make him like look a little bit more fearsome and like a little bit more like dangerous, right? Like you can tweak them without having to go like full on nuke them and they come back. Now it's, Amari is a 5'2" Korean bird with double G tits, right? Like you can really just fucking tweak them. I know.
Yeah, 20 quid's fine. Yeah.
And this is the thing. And then I think that the one downside this game definitely has at the moment is that the unlocks kind of suck. Like the skins aren't great. Whereas in there, if I could have like they're very basic. They're just palette swaps. If I could have like a cool ass skins, like something where like Amari's minigun, for example, it's, like, I don't know, maybe it's like black and it spins up and it's purple and shoots purple bullets or whatever it is, like something cool, something that you think, oh, that's a fucking sick ass skin. Like we saw one guy, I think, in the beta who was like level 99 with Lennox or something. And he had a skin that was just nuts. And we all were like, whoa, that skin's nice. Wonder how you get that. Like something like that. It does work.
They could do what League of Legends do. So they have like themes that go across multiple characters. So they'll have like a jelly theme or a cat theme, right? And all the characters are cat themed. And all that stuff sells like hotcakes. You just lean into anything that's popular and then make a bunch of skins that's very similar and digs upon that idea. And as I said, it just makes a lot of money. So why not go down that route? It's optional. It doesn't give you any competitive advantage. It just makes it more enjoyable for the people that want it.
The obvious option for me is getting Star Child and turning him into Kratos, just having a Kratos outfit for him, or just like basically just use all your
Kratos
PlayStation
skin.
Kratos skin for Star Child. That would sell gangbusters. Probably make more money than the game made this time around, just from that one microtransaction. To be honest, like maybe have who could be Jin from Ghost of Tsushima? I'm trying to think who would be a good fit for that. Like Tayo, maybe? I don't know. But you could do like basically PlayStation IP, like there's so many of them, even though Totoki doesn't believe so. But you could use a lot of your PlayStation IPs and have different like people would buy that shit. Yeah, I think they would anyway.
So you mean you would turn it into PlayStation All Stars, but have
Kinda,
Concord in it?
but just like skins.
Hey, maybe.
When,
I know what you mean.
Make a Mari into Sackboy.
Like,
That'd be hilarious.
Oh god, that'd be
Just
terrifying.
a huge sack boy with a mini
Yes.
Shredding everyone. That'd be terrifying. That would fucking hell. But no, I get what you mean. Like I always think of Ghost of Tsushima did it really well on its multiplayer in that you unlocked PlayStation themed skins for that. So I had a Kratos skin for Ghost of Tsushima, and it was still in samurai armor, but it had the white and red with the tattoo all down it. And it looked dope and it looked awesome. And there was another one for Bloodborne where he's in the Crow Hunter armor, and you think, this is cool. There's still a samurai, but I know that references that. It's like really obvious. And I think there's easy money to be made there. The downside is, of course, coming to free-to-play is there's going to be Battle Pass, there's going to be all this bollocks. But as long as they retain the core gameplay, I don't care what else they do. I really don't. I couldn't give less of a fuck. If the gameplay's the same, and maybe they augment it with some of the criticisms that we've talked through on this with this break, I'm more than happy to see that come back. I'm more than happy. But Lewis, I haven't come to you yet properly. So what are you thinking?
I think it's going to come back as a anime Japanese waifu game. I think it's like everyone's just going to be waifus.
Dear God.
That's it. That's the whole game. And Spencer will buy it up and buy all the microtransactions.
Well, it's his turn, isn't it, now? Because David,
Yeah.
you bought it, so it's Spencer's turn. So
Yes, true. No, but really,
Yeah.
I think it's just what Phil said. Really, I think it's free. It's going to go free to play. If it comes back at all, which I'm worried it might not, and which would suck because we really enjoyed it. But yeah, if they bring it back, free to play. I'm really surprised they never brought this on PlayStation Plus. I really am. It baffled me that they've pulled it so quickly. Mad.
It's one of those things like you do kind of like what Multiverses did, where you take that break. And I reckon, and I was going to ask you guys this, how long do you think until we see it again? And I'll answer my own question. I think it'd be a year. I think it'd be a year. I think you take it off, you cool it off, like Multiverses has done. And I looked into the numbers for this. Me and Malou were chatting about it when we were playing. And the peak for Multiverses was something like 153,000 players on Steam, right? And they took it off, and when it came back a year later, it hit 116,000. So it didn't lose many, right? Like, a lot of people came back for that to see what it was like and to check it out again. And I think if you leave it a year, or 6 months at least, and you really put that extra little bit in to bring those quality of life things so they're there on the rip, and some extra game modes, and something that really spells Concord out, and you bring it back free to play, that's the best chance it's got. But I'm saying at least 6 months. I'm thinking a year.
I think one thing they need to avoid, and they really need to avoid, is bringing it initially back to PC.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because those numbers killed it. And that's the crowd that were very anti-Concord. I don't feel it was the PlayStation loyalists. I feel it was more kind of the general purpose PC guys that really put the hate down on this, because they've got such a suite of options over there. Of course, they can, why do they care about a PlayStation IP? They just don't as much, right? It's a brand new IP. They had no affinity with the characters. There was lots of, red flags for them. So, of course, they're just going to get on the back and put it down because they can go and play Overwatch. They can go and play a million other hero shooters, which are much more established. So I think if they're bringing it back, just avoid the PC for time. Give it a couple of months, build it up on PlayStation, get all the PlayStation people enjoying it again, and then release it on PC. The same as we do on most of our games, right? Most of our games, it takes about a year, 2 years to then come out on PC. Give it that time. Don't bring it on PC straight away.
I totally agree with you.
I think it's going to be 2025 as well. I think logically, you're going to be going up against Call of Duty. If you bring it out if you bring it out again within the next 2 or 3 months, you're just going to get slaughtered by Call of Duty.
Oh, no.
Black Ops 6.
It's never coming out that quick.
No, that's what I'm saying. It needs to be after the Black Ops hype has kind of died down a little bit. So I imagine probably about the same time next year, I'd imagine. But also the question I have as well is what's going to happen with Fair Games and Marathon now? Like, are they going to change the style of those games? Are they going to be delayed? Does this be moved, relaunched? Does that push them all back a year? Or are we going to have like 2 of them coming out at once? Like, I don't know.
I think it puts the fear of fucking God into it, mate.
Yeah.
I do. I really do. And I think all the types of issues and criticisms that are coming out with Concord, if there's any of that stuff within those games you mentioned, they're delaying. They're ripping them straight out because they don't want to be tarnished, unfortunately, with that same brush.
I think Marathon has a chance of surviving because it is Bungie and it is a recognizable name. But, I kind of agree.
Going off what you guys are on about, I think with Fair Games, it all comes out to what the game is. We don't know yet, right? It all comes down to that and how they present it. I think what's going to happen now is, like you were saying, Phil, it is going to put the fear of fucking God into them.
Yeah.
And I think rightly so.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, you have to put your best foot forward. And so far, all they got is a name, and that's it, right? Like, this time, before that Game Awards or whatever it was, Summer Game Fest, wherever it was first shown, I can't remember, for Concord, and we reacted to it. Before that, we had no idea what Concord was. It was just like ship with little like things like wiggling or whatever. We had no idea, like a burger or whatever. We had none. And so there was a this level of interest. Now, after Concord, Fair Games' interest is going to be down here. It's going to be even lower than Concord's was. So you got to fucking come out swinging big dicks immediately. And they got to make sure that whatever they do lands. Now, the good thing about it is that looking at the character designs they had on that initial trailer, they looked pretty generic, but there wasn't anything kind of offensive there. They just need to fucking be super confident and learn from this. And I think you're right. I think that we don't have a date for Fair Games, I don't believe. I don't believe we do. Not a concrete one anyway. And certainly nothing for Marathon. And so you can now just play ignorance is bliss. In terms of anyone asks, yeah, it's still in active development. But they could have been like, right, shift it out. Shift it out 6 months. It needs more work. It needs this. It needs that or whatever. And we wouldn't know because we haven't seen it yet. So I think at this point, they could just be like, this was always the plan. It was always this. And then they go quiet, leave the fucking dust settle, relaunch Concord in a year, and it be fucking something that's just like a No Man's Sky, you know, where it like came back, it's fucking massive after that update. They need something, they need to cool off like No Man's Sky did. They went silent for a year. Granted, the game was still out, but they went silent for a year and then they came back and they're like, we fixed it. And now and then it fucking banged and it's not stopped since. They've not looked back. Concord needs that, but I think instead of leaving it up where it would just continue to get hated and it would just go quiet and distant, if you leave it and then come back with a big bang, you at least make headlines, right? It's back. Concord's announced date is this. It gets another media presence, which it wouldn't get if it was just left just to silently wither away and die until they fix the issues with it. So, but yeah, we'll wait and see. Hopefully we'll see it sooner rather than later, but at least 6 months, please. So we got 2 questions from the audience to close off here. The first is from Lurian. I think I've kind of answered this for myself already, so apologies, Lurian. First, before we do, let's play the jingle. There once was a show some time ago that asked 4 questions every fortnight or so. It became so rare they weren't prepared to have a versatile rhyme. Oh God, I'm scrambling now to get a word that rhymes, so how can I wrap this up? I'll take this mail and go. Lurian asks, Why don't Sony grow a pair and stick it out? Final Fantasy XIV, No Man's Sky, etc. All broken games. Why pull it? Lesser games like Firewall are still up. Criminal. I completely agree with you, Lurian, that Firewall should not be up. That I should have got refunded for that game. That game's fucking shit. That's the worst purchase I've ever bought. A fucking terrible purchase that was, and I kind of blame you a little bit for that, Lurian. I don't really. I'm only messing. I think I've already answered your question. That I think going out and coming back creates a media splash, and it means that the dust can settle, and hopefully people soften. Lewis, I'm going to come over to you. Why do you think? Why have they pulled it? Why not just leave it up?
The only logic I have with this is that they've pulled it, refunded everyone who's paid money for it. So now the people who paid money for it, they can start going, oh, it's free now, so you got to pay battle passes and microtransactions. It's like they didn't want to have to deal with a load of people who bought the £40 one getting the free stuff or getting the updates without. I feel like they want to keep it to one pay structure. Does that make any sense? That's my logic, anyways. That they didn't want to have to go, oh yeah, you bought the game for £40, so you get this battle pass, these skins, you get all this because you've already paid for it, and then you guys have to pay for the microtransactions, you guys have to pay for the battle pass because you're playing in the free play version. I think that might be it. Just reboot it as a full free to play game, so they didn't have to deal with the people who paid £40 for it. Because there's only about 25,000 of us apparently. So I think it might just be to make their lives easier. Maybe, I don't know. It does seem weird to pull it when it's only just come out. They could have given it a bit more time. I don't understand it. It is weird.
What about yourself, Mr. Hoy? Where are you going with this one?
I think it's all down to the analytics and the numbers when it comes to this game. And obviously, we were waiting and hoping, fingers crossed, that, history didn't repeat itself in the numbers that we were seeing on Steam. But unfortunately, the PlayStation loyalists, not enough of them, spent the money and dedicated their time to play Concord. And as much as we fell in love with it, I think a lot of people got blinded by all the issues and problems and kind of the quality of life things that were probably missing in the game. So I think it's the right thing to do. I actually agree with what they've done to pull it right now. It saves the hassle, and I'm already seeing less people talking about Concord on Twitter. Obviously, the day it happened, it erupted. We wanted to talk about it. It was a huge thing, right? But it's not trending anymore. Fucking Dr. Disrespect is trending now because he's back online, right? The pedo's back. Concord is no more, right? No one's talking about Concord. And that's what needs to happen. It needs to disappear for a bit. No one needs to talk about it, and just give the devs that respect, that headspace to be able to get their shit together and fully realize the dream that they had. Because through these conversations and through the research Lurian had put together, it very much sounds like to me that, they had these amazing ideas and it kind of changed along the way for this and that reason. Maybe this is their opportunity to actually push forward with some of those ideas and as I said, realize that dream. But they just need to go away and live under a rock for a little bit, put their time and their effort into this game, and let's have a good Concord. I'll be there day one, regardless of what happens. But I'm excited for the future. But again, as you said, Davey, in your earlier segment, I don't want to see it for at least a year.
Yeah, needs to have a bit of a rest. Lewis.
So I was just curious, why do you think the Sony fans didn't support the devs? Because that seems to be a thing that everyone says Sony fans always support the devs. They always pay full price to support the devs. Game Pass is bad for developers and all that. Why do you think no one supported the devs in the PlayStation community?
I think the answer is obvious. I think that rhetoric that they always just support blindly, whatever, it's just bullshit. Always has been bullshit. But it's just an easy thing to throw out that has no basis in fact. Because there's been loads of failures across PlayStation's lineage. There's been a fucking shit ton. And it's a complete bullshit thing. No one should blindly, and I certainly would never blindly just buy any old bollocks that Sony put out. It's got to speak to me, right? It's got to speak to me, and that is how people are. It's not that. It's a case of the game just didn't grab a lot of people. It's as simple as that. And that's it. So I think blind support is not good for anyone.
And slightly, Firewalk aren't one of the big names here at PlayStation. You know, if it was your Insomniac, if it was your Naughty Dog, and they were coming out with something, I think you would have a lot more loyalty because that had been built up previously. But with Firewalk, like, there isn't that kind of loyalty built up. You don't have fanboys of Firewalk, in my opinion. You know, like a lot of people, they love everything, you know, Valve does, or they love everything Riot does. I'm one of those people. You know, they love everything that, as I said, you know, Insomniac do. But I don't think you have those hardened Firewalk fans that will blindly buy everything. So that's why it wasn't there for Concord. They just didn't have that.
As you said, there's some studios that you just know. Like, anything Kojima puts out, we're going to be interested, right? We're going to give it a go. Like, it would take a lot to put us off that, because you think, well, he's cooked. He's always been cooking, right? He's at the fucking stove making a fucking masterpiece every goddamn day, right? Like, you'd have to find something really shit to be like, fuck, this rocked my confidence in Kojima. And it's that same thing. As you said, it's got to be earned. And you can't just come out of there and just because you're a PlayStation-owned studio, no one should have that blind level of faith. Like, no one. That's not healthy for anyone, that. It really isn't.
That's kind of what I was saying with Marathon as well, is because that's a Bungie game, I think, that has more of a chance because people know the developer. So, yeah, I agree with that completely.
And so, the second question, our last one of the evening, and I want that's going to end it, is from the homie Maloon, the guy who's been in the trenches with us every single goddamn day of Concord's life. He asks, if you each had to sacrifice a Sony published first or second party game, thank you for the second party, thank you.
Makes it slightly
Maloon,
easier for me.
to revive Concord at the Demon Altar, which game is getting burned at the stake? No duplicates. And he says, and he's such a fucker for this, and I was going to call him out on Twitter for this, but I thought I'm going to call him out on the episode. He says, it can't be mine either. My pick is Destruction All-Stars. Right, let me first off just say, Maloon, you fucked me over here, because that would have been my instant pick is Destruction All-Stars. So you fucked me over, but I'm glad you said it, because now I've got to think outside the box a little bit here. So, Lewis, I'm going to come around to you first. First or second party game to revive... Oh, I know what you're going to fucking say. I know what you're going to say.
It's not going to be The Last of Us.
I know it's... Oh, you fucker. I know it's going to be...
The second this
Go
came
on,
up, I
mate.
was
Put
like,
me out my misery.
You know exactly what I'm going to say. In this
Lewis.
scenario, are we getting rid of it forever from existence? Is it just gone? I guess.
Yeah, I imagine it would be like a Doctor Strange thing, like where our minds are wiped of it.
I want to say The Last of Us 2 so bad. I want to say The Last of Us 2 so bad.
I know you do.
Because it's so funny. I know you guys love it. I can't. Knack. I'll put Knack in there. Let's get rid of...
Oh, you
Knack.
fucker.
Alright, Last of Us 2 it is. Last of Us 2 it is.
No,
then.
no,
Fuck
no,
it.
no. Go with Knack. Go with Knack. Go with Knack. Take Knack, please. God, take Knack. I'd rather not be reminded of that fucking game. Go on, take Knack, mate.
Oh, I wanted to be evil so bad. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it to you guys. I know how much you love it.
This is getting harder now, and I'm going to go last. So that's a great choice, Lewis. It's definitely the next low-hanging fruit that I think was there. So that's a really good choice. Go on then, Phil. What are you thinking, mate?
All right, I'm going to walk up to the Demon Altar. I'm going to wipe that Knack off there. And I'm going to offer up a game that I actually put in my Fantasy Critic this year.
Shit.
And it was a game that I would have said was anticipated by some and ended up being quite a middling game that literally no one ever talked about outside the people that maybe got paid to talk about it. You know, there's a couple of the PlayStation girls that, you know, stream a little bit of PlayStation, and I think they all got sent free copies, so they talked about it for a little bit. But outside that, I heard nothing about this game, and I've heard nothing since. So the game I'm offering up to the Demon Altar is Rise of the Ronin.
Oh, wow.
Now, who the fuck's going back to play that? It was a 7 out of 10 all day long by literally everybody. I can't imagine the numbers were big. This is developed by Team Ninja. So it's a big studio behind it. There was a lot of money. But I didn't hit fuck after that game came out. And we always talk about games that we've missed. We always talk about bucket lists. We always talk about backlogs, etc., etc. I ain't heard no one mention Rise of the Ronin. So for me, it doesn't even exist. Bring back Concord.
That's a great shout. It's a great shout. It was a game that I was surprised when you put it in your fantasy draft, because I was always thinking, I don't know about it. I don't know. Something about this just looks kind of mid. And people enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. There was a little bit of buzz on its release, but it's a fucking perfect shout, because I haven't thought about that game ever. Ever. Knew I wasn't going to buy it. Knew it wasn't going to be my
dead
cup of tea.
game.
Yeah.
Everyone wants Ghost of Tsushima too, right? They don't want Rise of the Ronin, all right? What is
I
it?
remember you guys were really hyped for that game before it came out. I remember
I was
watching
hyped as
reactions
my
and
fantasy
stuff.
critic, and I
wasn't hyped.
No.
Okay.
It's always looked a bit mid, but it had potential. And I just think it just didn't realize that potential because everything I'm reading is mid. So unfortunately, as I said, it's dead to me now. So it not existing wouldn't have mattered. And to have Concord back would have been welcome.
Well, guys, fortunately, Maloon didn't leave it at first party. So if he left it at first party, I'd have to be, at this point, I'd be struggling a bit. I'd probably have to go for Drive Club or something, right?
That's what I was thinking, Drive Club, yeah.
Because there's the second party games here, I'm in luck. Because I can kill a game that I fucking detest and that I bought, and we've already talked about it once. Firewall Ultra. There's a second party game, and I would fucking sacrifice myself at the demon altar to get that fucking game wiped. That is the fucking worst purchase I have made in my adult life. There's only one game potentially that could be worse than this, and it's a game called Jersey Devil on PS1, and it's because I couldn't beat the second level. Just couldn't beat it as a kid. I couldn't figure out where to go, and didn't have the internet, so I couldn't search it. And it's probably painfully obvious, but I was too fucking dumb to figure it out. Firewall Ultra, I've gone on about it so much. I detest everything that game stands for. I hate it. I even hate the fact that when they came out and they had a fucking bullshit apology, do you remember that fucking shit?
Yeah.
Fuck
remember
me.
it all happening.
Oh god, this game deserves to be sacrificed, and even if we got nothing back, I'd be happy for it to go. So that is an easy pick for me. I'm glad that nobody else got that, even if, thank God you didn't pick that, Phil. I'd been scrambling, bro. If you picked that, I'd have been scrambling,
I did
dude.
think of it, and I thought,
Maloon, I hope we've answered your question. And Lurian, thank you ever so much again for your support in providing this topic. We've gone a lot longer than I anticipated we would, but I hope, audience, that you've enjoyed it. This has been one hell of an episode, lads, and I am glad to have been on this journey with you. Audience, if you have enjoyed it, there's a number of ways to let us know. The first, of course, is you can go onto your podcast service of choice and put a rating on. The ratings are building, and we're still maintaining that 5-star metric. So if you enjoyed it, please go on and rate it. It does help us find a larger audience. If you listened on, or watched along, on YouTube and got to see our beautiful faces get more and more tired as this evening has gone on, then thank you ever so much for tuning in. Really, really appreciate each and every single one of you. Go on and put a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and put a comment on anything we talked through here today. We will make sure to respond to them. We don't read those out on the show, so if someone does want to take advantage of the fact that we do go through listener questions, number of ways to do it. The easiest way is to go onto Twitter, on X, and you can reach out to us on there, or you could pave the way for future people, and you can go onto our Discord, and you could say, Phil, I've got a question for the next episode. Can you make a note of this, put it in the doc? And I'm sure he will. And so that might be another way to get one in.
We might even have a channel for that. Ooh. But you have to join Discord to find out what that channel is.
We'll go on there.
I might just I might create it in a second.
It could be the same one that you can see the live stream of Lewis sleeping. So like the Big Brother house.
Oh, yeah.
Because we got that on there as well. So make sure to go along and check us out. And that brings episode 98 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast, to a close. I've been Davey.
And I've been Phil.
I've been Lewis.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, @SSJDavey, @PhilipHoy, @SpenPie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See ya.